Morning, morning all. Oyagani morning. Let's see. Morning, Roxanne. Blessed Sunday to you as well. Morning, Rockman, Althea. Daniela Williams, morning. Wanda Joseph, morning to you. Neil Francois, morning, sir. Always present. Alberta Sampath, morning. J. Dimples. Cyril Mayas, Gail Jack, morning to you guys. Angela Maru, morning, Angela. Slip Money Grip, morning. Priscilla Holder, morning to you. This thing jumping so well. Rena Jennings, morning Rena. Christopher Serrett, morning to you, sir. Pamela Moses. Patriot, morning. Doreen Pay, Julia Spooner. Christopher Sylvester, Priscilla Holder, Ruben Rogers. Adoremi X, good morning. Riri, morning to you. Macaroni Tony, morning, sir. Leon Joseph, morning to you. Leon Graves. Chuck, Guru Monkey, morning. Terence Cummings, good morning, sir, and belated birthday greetings to you. I trust that you had a very good day and that it was well spent. Also, the belated birthday greetings to Maria Lyons. I know she would have had a good one. So, morning to you guys. Special good morning to you guys. Juju Bernard, morning. Deborah Duranti, Wayne Gibson, morning. All. See who I have on Facebook. Marva James, morning. Jonathan Carr, morning to you. Tian Charles, morning. Adriana Alexis, morning, guys. Sarah Richards, morning. Patsy Edwards. Istra Blake, morning. Istra, I'm dealing with your stuff. Istra, so hopefully I'll have good response, powerful response for you this week. Claudette Jeffrey, morning. Andrea Ennis, morning. Andrea. Jenny Joseph, morning. Ria Edward, morning to you. Laverne Brown, morning. Laverne Claire Irish, morning. Claire. Shema Alexander, morning to you. Alison Boyce, morning. Good morning to His Excellency, the President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, sending morning greetings from Mark Reaper. Nigel, you like it yourself? Morning to First Lady Mauricia Keegan. Have a good one, sir, for all of us. Claire Carrington, Karen Gaspard, morning to all of you guys. Winston Jack, Deborah, Judy Bowen, Annette Beard, Denise Coggins, morning. Ambel George, Cynthia Jackson, Florence Bazzi, morning. Florence, Joycelyn Smallwhite, morning. Joycelyn, Annie Marie, Margaret Thomas, Marianne Ellis, morning, guys. Brian Deming, morning to you, sir. Deborah Duranti, all of you guys. Judy King, morning. Let me say good morning to Carol Myers as well. I know the death of her cousin, the police officer who was killed, unfortunately, in that bar shooting has really affected her, and I hope that she's doing well. Caroline Crossley, Root morning. Jackie Graham, Wayne Gibson. Morning to all of you guys. Right. So see, the video looks a little dark on YouTube. That light too bright for me this morning. It's really a so use natural light. See one sec. Right. I'm gonna put that on. That'll brighten my eyes. But anyway, so morning, Jenny. Veronica Jack, morning to you guys. So let me just jump straight into it. Yeah, so I'm back for the while. I don't anticipate any further travels until early July. Yeah, so we have some time. Traveling after July. We'll see how that goes. So let me jump into it, right? So many things to discuss, folks. When you're away for two weeks, as I always say, things seem to happen in this country when I am away. Morning to Patricia McKenzie, Dexter Thwaites. Morning to you. Andel George, morning. Andel says cut out the trial. Andel, I will try. But actually, I was supposed to have been away now as we speak, but in the 2 weeks is enough. Well, 2 on 1. Closer to 3 weeks. I was out for what, 19 days or so? Yeah, so I said the next travel shouldn't be until early July. So, yeah. So I see the Bacchanales media has once again reared its head. So as if the Bacchanal, the impasse between the Attorney General, Auditor General, Ministry of Finance is not enough, and they realize that perhaps that matter is on its last legs, and the interest in it is waning. They decide to try and cook up another Bacchanal, right? So I think it was on Friday in the Senate, Thursday or Friday. So let me see. I think it was Friday. They were debating the Administration of Justice Indictable Proceedings Amendment Bill in the Senate, called AJIPA, and the goodly Senator Jayanti Lakshmidiyal Ramdiyal, who I shall henceforth refer to as Jayanti Lakshmidiyal, really the extra add-on is a bit of a stressing. So she got up to make her contribution, and she couldn't help herself but speak about the shortage of attorneys in the office of the DPP. We know the DPP would have spoken to that issue. I think it was sometime last year or so, when there was the discussion about the rental of the building on Park Street, which he felt was not sufficient security-wise, and he refused to occupy the building, resulting in the loss of some $55 million that would have been paid in rent and outfitting the building. We know the bacchanal that ensued from that, but that other party that wants to hold the reins of power in this country has no moral authority or any other type of authority to speak on that issue, to criticize the government. Because if you were to scrutinize the Auditor General's report, yes, the infamous Auditor General's report, between 2010 to 2015, there are numerous instances of buildings being rented by that administration, where millions of dollars were spent in rent, not just the building in Barataria, buildings on Frederick Street, Pembroke Street, all over the place was rented. Millions of dollars were spent in rent, millions of dollars spent to outfit. The term of the lease came to an end, and not one public servant ever stepped foot in those buildings. Not one public servant, to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. But aside from probably hearing it from me, I don't think you would have heard that too many other places. Because up until now, the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago, by and large, were not interested in the Auditor General's report, the contents of the Auditor General's report. But all of a sudden, they have interest in the Auditor General's report, and they want the Minister of Finance to lay the report in the Parliament so that the public can have the opportunity to scrutinize what is in that. Well, while they're waiting for that, you have plenty other reports you could go and scrutinize in the meantime. Plenty. And I would strongly encourage that you read from 2010 to 2015 and see what is in there, especially all of those hypocrites, those crocodile tears shedders who come and standing with the Auditor General, and she's doing her job and she's taking a stand for Trinidad and Tobago, but yet still she's incurring further expense, right? Further expense to taxpayers' dollars to file injunction to prevent the Ministry of Finance from launching an investigation, a probe, to find out exactly what went on and how it is that, which probe will include as well what happened with respect to the central bank, what happened with respect to that new system that the central bank put in place for the clearing of checks that would have resulted in this error, this $2.6 billion error. And as the Minister of Finance has said, he is doing this to ensure, to see what the failings are, what the shortcomings are, so that they could ensure that such an incident is not repeated. But the Auditor General sees this as being a witch hunt against her. She is not concerned about that aspect of the issue. How the problem started, what was the origins of the problem. The central bank side, the Board of Inland Revenue side, she's not concerned about that. She figures this probe is about her and only about her, and that they're only going to be looking into the Office of the Auditor General and her alleged refusal in the first instance to accept the updated accounts, to speak to the issue of her claims that the accounts were backdated and so on. And if in fact it was backdated, you should be happy that the minister is seeking to conduct a probe to find out who was responsible for that backdating, what was the motivation, the rationale for such backdating, and whether or not it may be that you have public servants who need some level of retraining to avoid all of these things ever happening again. But no, she ain't saying all of that, you know. All she's saying is that this is a witch hunt against her, and this probe is designed somehow to implicate her in something, and that her job that she's probably been looking forward to for donkey years since King Hatchet was a hammer might now be in jeopardy. But as the minister said, it is not about that. The outcome, the findings of this probe cannot be used in any way to penalize the Auditor General. As the minister has said, this probe, the findings cannot be used in any way whatsoever with respect to disciplinary action being taken against the Auditor General if such disciplinary action is called for. He has made that perfectly clear, that this is just a probe for his benefit, the benefit of the government, the benefit of the Ministry of Finance, and all of the other state departments that are involved to see what went wrong, what needs to be fixed, what needs tweaking, so as to ensure that this situation never happens again. But they're not seeing that. And so, every time, as I told you all last Wednesday, this Auditor General causes Freedom Law Chambers to have to engage in any sort of legal action, to write any letter to the Minister of Finance, the Attorney General, or anybody else. It is a cost that is incurred by the taxpayers. You feel Freedom Law Chambers doing these things for free? We saw when they were in office between 2010 to 2015 what a pre-action protocol letter could cost. Upwards of $475,000 for 2 paragraphs for a pre-action protocol letter. How many pre-action protocol letters have been sent to the General on behalf of Jayawanti Ramdas? How many? So it would be interesting to know. Freedom Law Chamber should give us an update. And you know, there's the hypocrisy I can't take with the other party. Every opportunity they get, they're asking the minister, the Minister of Energy, the Prime Minister, whoever else they could ask, what is the cost so far for the cleanup of the oil spill in Tobago? The minister indicated to them that the process is still ongoing, so I can't give you a final figure yet. When all of the oil has been cleaned up and the vessel has been properly disposed of and so on, and this issue has been put to rest, then we could give you the final cost. But they keep coming back every time to ask. But nobody asking, well, Freedom Law Chambers could give us an update as to what the bill is so far for all of these actions that Ms. Ramdas has taken, all of these letters that she has been sending to this one, that one, and the next one, and in her latest salvo, in an attempt to stop the probe, which they deem to be illegal, and that only the Service Commission has the authority to conduct such a probe. But as again, I told you all last week Wednesday, a similar probe was launched last year when the file went missing with respect to the 9 men who were freed of the Vindra Naipaul Kulman murder. That lawsuit that they brought against the state, where they're seeking $3.5 million each, and they were awarded in total some $22 million or $20 million last year by a judge. That matter, that judgment has since been set aside. But the Office of the Attorney General would have engaged the services of former Justice Stanley John to conduct a probe into, you see, public servants again, who were involved in that matter to find out what went wrong. Why the document, the file or whatever went missing, how it went missing, what happened between the judiciary and transmission of that document to the Office of the Attorney General and all of these things. Same thing in this instance with respect to the probe into the Auditor General's department. We're looking to retain the services of a former judge to look into the actions of public servants. But as I said last week, how come Mr. Ramlogan, who was intimately involved in that matter as well, representing attorney for the 9 men, didn't come and send a pre-action protocol letter to tell the Attorney General you can't probe that matter because only the Service Commission could probe the public servants and so on. And the Service Commission is responsible for disciplinary action. How come you didn't do that? So it wasn't illegal then for such a probe, but it's illegal now. Because if you had sent a pre-action protocol letter, then you would have been sending it on behalf of yourself. So the state wouldn't have had to pay for that. But in this instance, you could send pre-action after pre-action, and because you're representing the Auditor General, which is an official state office, You had to get paid for that. So it seems the Goodly Auditor General is now providing a very fertile platform for the former Attorney General who love money bad to continue to suck the treasury dry, right? And he only too happy. What were the other cases he was dealing with? All of a sudden, Auditor General, everybody forget about the babies who died in the NICU. Yeah, that story dead. We're interested in that again. We were so heartbroken about all these babies, and that was the story. That's all we could talk about. And this wicked and evil government, and Terence Dayal Singh is the Minister of Death, and Dayal Singh need to go, and all of that. How come nobody is asking any questions? Or what's the status of the probe into that? Is the investigation complete? Has there been an outcome? All you're interested in that again. We on to the next one, right? We on to the next story. Typical. Yes, all so concerned about the goings on in the country. But yeah, we forget about the babies. We're dealing now with Jayanti and Imbut and Reggie. And we're ready to move on from them because the media find, okay, that losing steam. So in yesterday's Express, article on page 4, AG and DPP split on Commonwealth lawyers. Proposal rejected for office vacancies. Attorney General Reginald Amor has disclosed that a building is being sourced for the DPP and efforts are being made to provide more staff. As he wound up the debate on the Administration of Justice Bill 2024 at the Senate sitting yesterday, Amor shut down arguments by opposition Senator Jayanti Lakshmiyal with respect to resources at the DPP's office. He said the DPP had declined a move by the AG's office to source staff from the Commonwealth to fill vacancies. The AG said last year he wrote to the Commonwealth Secretary General Baroness Patricia Scotland about filling the vacancies at the DPP's office in Trinidad with staff from the region. I got an engagement to engage with me, and I engaged with the DPP to bring Commonwealth lawyers to Trinidad to staff the DPP. The DPP said no thank you. We are now in the process of filling vacancies on short-term contracts. The Judicial and Legal Service is in the process of doing that as we speak. And vacancies are being filled. As we speak, there is a building that is being sourced so that the DPP will have a building to move into and to give him the spatial requirements that he needs. And at his request, we are currently moving provisions for IT facilities for the DPP. In response to questions from the Express with respect to his refusal of Commonwealth staff and a new building, DPP Roger Gaspard issued a brief reply yesterday saying, "Not surprised that the AG didn't contextualize my refusal. Maybe he forgot. And news of a new building is just that." And that's the end of that, right? And then they go on to give you about 3-4 paragraphs about the building. Same thing, the regurgitation of things that they would have published several times in the last few months. Come to talk about that again. But you realize what they're trying to do here, right? So it was, as I said, the Auditor General, the AG's office, and the office of the Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance. So they find that they're running out of stuff to publish to give that legs and keep it on the front page. So now they're looking to create a new bacchanal between the AG and the DPP, right? I saw this story carried on CNC3 on Friday night. I just so happened a little later on in the evening, I was scrolling through and I decided to just take a look at the Parliament channel. Unfortunately, at that point in time, they were showing the same debate was going on. The DPP was about, not the DPP, sorry, the AG was about to begin his wind-up, and so I listened to it. And the AG said many things. He spoke about many things. But the media pick up on that. They zero in on that, right? Everything else he talked about in the wind-up, all of the other senators, the independent senators, other opposition senators whose contributions he would have spoken to and made comments on, they weren't interested in that. But they just hear the AG talk about he offered staff from the Commonwealth to the DPP office, and the DPP said no thank you, and they realized, hey, yeah, let me jump on that. So while that debate was taking place, as soon as they hear that, they couldn't wait. So they pick up the phone, yeah. Tell so and so to call the DPP office and get a comment on that now. In case he didn't hear it. I don't think he's listening to the Parliament channel right now, so you hear what the AG says. So tell them call the DPP and get a comment on that. We want to break the story. Then we start a new bacchanal and a new couture. And the DPP says, well, you know, the AG didn't contextualize, but he didn't give any details as to the context in which he would have refused the staff. So he's saying, well, you know, there's a deeper element to that. I said, yes, I did in fact say no thank you, but there's a reason why I said no thank you, and the AG didn't say why I said no thank you. So that's unfortunate, but all right. I will leave it there. I'll leave that there. So, but they saw it fit to make that a story on page 4. You know, page 4 is still prominent. Stories, you know, you read for a second, you flip to it and write it. And it's almost the whole page. But like that ain't going nowhere because the DPP is a man of few words. So he ain't taking it any further. So he just made a comment. He said, right, so I'm not surprised that the AG didn't contextualize. The AG didn't lie. He said the DPP said no thank you. I don't need to go into further details as to why he said no thank you. At the end of the day, if you're looking for staff, you need staff. And I'm offering you staff. But you say no thanks. All right. But the media looking to make a issue out of them. The bacchanalists. That's why Dr. Rowley had to rough them up the other day and tell them that that is what they are. They are a sounding board. Right? So the bacchanalists, that's what they are. But next they to that, or to Akash about the Fourth Estate, and he need to defend the Fourth Estate. Tell the Fourth Estate stop being bacchanalists and stop trying to push propaganda and couture and only creating scenarios and giving the people half the story and chinksing with the rest, and have most of them who supporting that other party outside there talking rubbish on social media every day in the comment section under the various posts about this AG Ministry of Finance impasse, if you want to call it that. Only a certain misinformation, highlighting the fact that they don't. I mean, I get fed up of trying to explain what the situation is to them. They're hopeless. I mean, what they call that by cognitive dissonance at its best. It makes no sense trying to educate these people. Because even when you educate them, and even if they understand what the situation is, because it doesn't support the narrative of corruption that they want to push, they're not interested. So they continue to hold on to the corruption narrative. The government thieved $3.3 billion and they want to know where the money gone. And the Auditor General standing up for the citizens. But there are basic understanding, you know. And of course, the leadership of that party is happy. They're happy to have the misinformation in the public domain because they figure it will help them. So they're not going to make any effort to clear up the misinformation, the lies and the propaganda that is out there. They're not even going to give a lifeline to the supporters so that people wouldn't have to call their party dunce. But the supporters continue on a daily basis, minute after minute, every time a post comes up to highlight the fact that they're fully dunce. Because the Minister of Finance is telling you the revenue for 2023 was understated because of this error that claims or showed that $2.6 billion was paid out in VAT refunds, which did not happen. If the $2.6 billion had been paid out in VAT refunds, then yes, the government's revenue for 2023 would have been 61-point-something billion. But that was an error. Because everybody knows the hardest thing to get from the government today is a VAT refund. So ain't no way in hell the government was going to pay any one entity $2.6 billion in VAT refunds. It's not going to happen. And I don't think they owe any one entity $2.6 billion in VAT refunds, where I think the total VAT refund owing right now is about $4.5 to $5 billion. And that might be in the extreme. And explain that a new system that was implemented by the central bank for clearing checks. Before it was a manual process. Now it's an automatic process. So they're no longer sending the physical checks to the central bank to have somebody sit down and go through the check and verify the numbers and double and triple. So there was an error in that system since February last year that resulted in this, and as the minister said, it would have been an issue perhaps with simple as decimal point, you know. Simple as decimal point. Somebody had a moment of dyslexia, right? Resulting in what appeared to be a transaction for $2.6 billion. But if you reverse that transaction, which did not happen, then the figures would be correct. So the government's revenue for 2023 would have been understated because of this transaction. So it's a matter of, we reverse it, we fix the problem, and now we present you with the actual figure. The Auditor General is saying that when she finally relented and decided to send her senior auditors to the office, to the Ministry of Finance, to look into this matter and to try and verify that the government earned actually $64 billion in revenue and not 61. She is saying that in the 7 days that they took to do this audit, the documentation to support this additional revenue could not be found. Or rather, not that it couldn't be found, that it wasn't presented. In the 7 days or the 8 days that they gave the public servants who work in the Ministry of Finance and the Board of Inland Revenue and the Central Bank to present this documentation, because she was antsy and itchy to meet the deadline. So between the 16th and the 24th of April, your senior auditors went, and that was sufficient time. But we understand that the public service needs a purge, right? They need some turpentine. So if it is that documents are not presented on time, because obviously it's an amalgam of revenue. So it is not that the public servants could go and pull a draw and say, well, here, look, the $2.6 billion in revenue. It wasn't that. To look for documents to substantiate that is not as simple as some people may think it is. It's just one document you go and you pull it. Remember, as revenue, the government's, that total revenue would have come from several different places. The government earning revenue from income tax, from royalties, from taxes from the energy sector, monies that are being collected for all the various things that you pay the state for. So whether it is that you have to go the licensing office, you pay, you have to transfer a vehicle, and the vehicle is a number of years old, and therefore you have to pay a transfer fee. All of these things is government revenue. Government revenue. Money come from the issuance of traffic tickets or whatever it is, all of these different things. Stamp duty. You buy a house, you have to pay stamp duty. All of these different things. So it's an amalgamation of revenue. So it's not to say that there's a document showing the government get $2.6 billion from here and so on. So to be able to actually to do a proper audit to confirm this 64 billion, you would have to look at all the revenues that the government would have earned in the 12-month period from October the 1st, 2022 to September 2023, right? So you have to go through everything again. So how much money we collect from police service, how much money the BIR collect through stamp duty and other things that people pay for, how much money we collect from income tax, how much we collect from corporation tax. And you need to go through all of these things to add it up. And you did that in 7 days. Your auditors were able to do that in 7 days. Right? Okay, no problem. But to the dance on that side, the government thief 3.3 billion and they thief, and we want to know. The Auditor General is saying that the 3.3 billion that always say thief, she's saying it never existed. She's saying my auditors did not see any evidence, documentary evidence, to support the existence of this $3.3 billion. That is what she's saying. So she's saying the ministry and the Minister of Finance is telling you they made 64. But I am telling you they made 61. And unless I can see the documentation to support 64, I go in with 61. So it's not that she's saying money was stolen, she's saying it didn't exist. And as Rudal Munilal would have said when he did his first press conference to address this matter, and he did so briefly, he didn't make any allegation that the government thieved the money. He said his allegation was that the government trying to cook the books, that they inflated the amount of money that they made in 2023 to make it look as if the economy is performing better than it actually did. That is what Rudal Munilal said, which is the same thing basically that is being implied by the Auditor General. She is saying, let's make this amount that the economy performed so well in 2023 that the government collected 64 point something billion in revenue. But based on what I am seeing and what has been presented to my auditors, you only make 61 point something. So prove to me that you make the next 3.3. And if you can't prove that, as far as I'm concerned, you only make 61. So where the thief come into that? Where's the corruption? What money was stolen? She's not saying, show me, take me into the treasury and let me sit down and count money. She's saying simply, let us go through, let me see all of your receipts, your income and revenue receipts for 2023, fiscal year 2023. Let me add it up and see if it will add up to 64 point something billion. The minister is saying it was 64, she's saying it's 60. But these clowns on that other side seem hell-bent on wanting to demonstrate day after day that they're fully dunce, talking about the minister and the government thief. So the government thief $3.3 billion and then come and tell the country we thief $3.3 billion. If the government had stolen $3.3 billion, all they would have simply done when the first accounts went to the Auditor General in January, you leave it like that. The Auditor General would review, as she did, her auditors review, and they didn't pick up the error. And they say, well, okay, be satisfied with the 61 billion presented here. We're going to generate a report that says the government earned 61 point something billion. We good with that. There's nothing left to be said about that. So if the government wanted to thief, understand, they could have thief. Under the shortcomings of the Auditor General's Department now, failure to be able to pick up a $2.6 billion error, right, means it's very easy for the government to thief. So even if for future governments now, they understand how easy it is to thief. You just send a report to the Auditor General and understate your revenue, and the Auditor General rocking with that. They're going with that. So if the government really wanted to thief, all the minister had to say when they come and tell them, well, you guys, so yes, forget it. The report gone out already, so what? The Auditor General approve it. Did we get any calls from the Auditor General's Department stating that the figure, she have a issue with the figure? No, she good with it. And everything that we sent, well, all right, leave it so. She says 61 point something, we go in with 61, so we have an extra 3 billion now we need to get rid of. Come on here. We have 3.3 billion to thief. If they wanted to steal, they would have do that. They didn't do that. The minister come and sought to do it the right way first. Let us contact the Auditor General's Department and let us bring this matter to their attention. Let them know the situation and that we are in the process of fixing the matter so that the correct figures could be reflected in the final accounts, 64 and not 61. And the Auditor General, based on the initial reports, was hesitant to accept that, resulting in the minister having to do what he did, which was to come to Parliament to move a motion to extend the period of time for which the deadline, which calls for the laying of the report, and having to send pre-action protocol letter to compel the Auditor General to accept the amended accounts. That is the extent that it reached to. So that when I hear the opposition talking, since I'm asking the minister if he make a call and if he try to make a personal call to the Auditor General, what the hell is wrong with that? If the public servants, the senior public servants, as high as the second in command in the ministry, was not able to speak to or reach the Auditor General, whether through telephone call, emails, or whatever it is, which to me is a gross dereliction of duty on the part of the Auditor General, then you ask the minister to intervene. He has overall and overarching responsibility for the country's finances. So if the Auditor General not taking the call of the permanent secretary, well, maybe she should take the call from the minister. Seems she wasn't taking any call neither. Right? And that is why we are where we are. But misery loves company. And because they cannot defend the supporters of that party, the sycophants, not the few who have some sense, right? And we're hoping that the internal election, they would have been able to get rid of Prasad Bisesa, but unfortunately, she has decided she will not offer up her scalp on this occasion. So you can't get rid of her. You can get rid of everybody else, but not you. Right? So the sycophants every day coming on Facebook and talking nonsense about thief and 3.3 billion missing and money missing. But because they cannot defend the thievery and corruption of the party that they support when they were in office, they come in now to project onto this current administration. Desperate. Always talking about the PNM is the most corrupt. But ask them, please, give us the examples that show the PNM is most corrupt. They can't give you any example. They run back 40 and 50 years, 5 and 6 decades to talk about O'Halloran and Privat and Carty. But ask them, come forward, we're dealing with the present time. We're not dealing with Eric Williams. We're not dealing with George Chambers. We're not dealing with Patrick Manning. We're dealing with Keith Rowley, Kamla Prasad Bisesa. If you say the PNM is the most corrupt, but all you have to go back to 1970, and then to come for you had to skip 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, and you had to come forward now, right? Between O'Halloran and Privat. All you can't talk nothing until you reach Marlene McDonald. God rest her soul, right? You can't even talk about Eric Williams and Franklin Kahn because they realized that that was another piece of couture involving the political leader. Come in parliament and read a letter from a man named Dansam Dansuk making all kind of allegations about bribery and bid rigging and all this kind of foolishness. Get 2 men fired, and then later recanted his statement, basically saying that it was the opposition that put him up to that. So they don't talk about that. They can't talk about that. Right? They have no legs to stand on with that. So they'll come forward and tell you about Marlene and Keith Rowley and Landate. Anything else? Will you have anything else? No, they will tell you about Foster Cummins and the loan that he took. Of course, we know that it had nothing there. There is no there. And then tell you about Emailgate and Rowley Lie and Petrotrin, and he closed down Petrotrin. I started about 6 minutes late this morning because I was in a little tussle on Facebook, again with another member, another dunce, another fully dunce, right? Talking nonsense about the price of fuel went up because the government shut down Petrotrin. And if the refinery was still up and running, that the price of fuel would not have been as high as it is. But they seem to forget that it was under the PP that Kamla Persad-Bissessar increased the price of premium by $1.75 one shot in an attempt to reduce the size of the subsidy. One shot. They didn't do like Mbut and give in increments, take 50 cents, and then 6 months from now we add 25 cents, and then another 6 months from now we add another 50 cents. No, the $11.625 million Minister of Finance said, take that up all your CAPEX, no grease. Ram the umbrella up all your CAPEX and then open it. Take the 175 just so. One shot. That's how he did it. But they just forget that. But you want to come and the refinery was up and running then? So if it is you're trying to tell me that having the refinery up and running would result in a reduction in the price of fuel. What utter rubbish. Utter rubbish. You know. The reason why the price of fuel is what it was is because we were importing 100,000 barrels of oil per day at whatever price oil was at that time. So if oil was $100 per barrel, we were paying $100 per barrel to bring in 100,000 barrels of oil per day. If it was $140 per barrel, that is what we were paying to bring it in on a daily basis to provide feedstock for throughput in the refinery so that we could refine the oil to produce the diesel and the regular gas and the super and the premium so that you could have gas in the gas station. But you feel we were paying for the oil in pesos? Apparently they figure we were paying for that in pesos, not US dollars. So when they're talking nonsense about Petrotrin was a net earner of foreign exchange and all of the foreign exchange that we were there, how was Petrotrin earning foreign exchange? Ask them that question. How were we earning the foreign exchange? So we buy an oil, refining it, but you're making money from selling the refined product. Who we sell it to? That is how you're making foreign selling it to. Ask them that question. We were selling it to other Caribbean countries, which we still do today. Even though we import enough for our consumption, domestic consumption, and we selling to other Caribbean countries. Imagine my surprise when I went to Dominica a couple of weeks ago to see that one of the main suppliers of fuel, right, in Dominica is NP. Imagine that. You have several NP gas stations in Dominica. One of the main suppliers of fuel and operators of gas stations in Dominica is NP. Trinidad and Tobago, NP. So some of the fuel that we are importing now goes to Dominica. So that NP could supply the gas stations in Dominica. So that the citizens of Dominica could fill up their vehicles. Yes, NP. So we're still earning foreign exchange in the same way that we were earning it before. When the refinery was up and running, by selling it to other Caribbean countries, we're still doing that. That has not changed. But now, the amount of money that the government would have had to spend on the refinery with respect to maintenance and upkeep and having to pay salaries and other benefits and so on, they no longer have to pay those expenses. But these clowns not understanding that. So the government's expense bill is less now than it would have been when the refinery was operating. Because now you're only spending money basically to import the fuel, to have the bunkering of the fuel and so on. So whereas under the old system, where marketing, exploration and marketing was a department. Now it is a whole company, which is Heritage. Heritage has a responsibility to drill for oil, to look for oil. Just recently, a few weeks ago, they announced that they would have a new well that would be producing some 500, an additional 500 barrels of oil per day. And while for those on the other side, that might seem negligible, when you look at the returns, the problem with Petrotrin was that there was not sufficient local production. We weren't producing enough locally to provide feedstock to the refinery. Hence the reason we had to import. And even the 50-something thousand barrels of oil per day that we're producing now, the majority of that comes from the private oil companies like BP and EOG and what's this other one? Touchstone and all of them. So when they drill and they get their oil, that doesn't belong to the government. They find their oil and they ship it abroad. They sell it and they make money and they pay the government of Trinidad and Tobago taxes and royalties. And in the case of some of these companies, they are only paying taxes and royalties to the state because of the excellent leadership of the current Prime Minister and his administration. Because as we would have been told and we would have read, based on the concessions that were given to these energy companies by the previous administration, we were not entitled to get any taxes and royalties until sometime in 2027. We are in 2024. The first set of concessions would have expired this year, but there were other concessions that would have seen us being deprived of energy revenues until 2027. I read that article for you all in the Newsday. When early on in his term as Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley went to the UK and he met with the principals of BP and Shell and whoever else and negotiated with them and let them know this situation is untenable. We need the revenue right now. These concessions were good, but unfortunately, yesterday was yesterday, today is today. We cannot afford it. All they need to ante up and give us something because the country's coffers are starving. The citizens are being negatively impacted and they are not aware of why. They are not aware of why the country's revenues is where it is. So when we come and we tell them this is how much revenue we have, they cannot comprehend because they don't understand what happened behind the scenes. And even though we're telling them, there are some citizens who don't want to hear that. So what are we supposed to do? As a result of that, there was these energy companies, we understand, we hear what you're saying. We hear what you're saying, no problem. We'll give Ole back some monies, right? And based on what I recall the Minister of Energy saying, that has now amounted to, in the first instance, it was 1 to 3 billion, and now that has exceeded well over $11 billion. But they made a point to tell the Prime Minister, we don't want to do this, sir. We just tell him, we don't want to do this, but we hear what you're saying. We understand. We could ease up on our oil profits a little bit and give Ole back some money. It took this administration to introduce the 12.5% royalty so we could get additional revenues from our oil and gas, which they're drilling for exploiting, selling it. And thanks to the PP, we wasn't supposed to get nothing. But other than to be able to boast about foreign direct investment. So they come in here investing their money, the millions of US dollars to drill. When they find oil and they find gas, they sell it. And then whatever expenditure would have been incurred to find that oil and gas, they write it off against the revenues that we were supposed to get from the sale of our oil and gas. And it results in nil for us. We ain't getting nothing, but we could boast foreign direct investment. Yes, but how are the citizens benefiting from the foreign direct investment? So the figures looking nice, but how the citizens benefiting? We weren't. But then go give Dr. Rowley and the PNM any credit for that. No, all we hearing about is Petrotrin and Petrotrin and Petrotrin. I swear, these people will give you a stroke when you continue to hear them talking this nonsense and they wouldn't sit down for a minute or two and say, let me reason this thing. Let me reason this thing and see if it's making sense. Petrotrin importing oil to be able to refine. They're importing 100,000 barrels of oil per day. How were they paying for this 100,000 barrels? They were paying for it in US dollars. Where the US dollars coming from to pay for it? Where it was coming from? You ever study that? So when you're talking about they're spending millions of US dollars to import oil, to import fuel. They just substituted one for the next. Instead of importing thousands of barrels of oil per day, we are now importing fuel. It's the same situation. We're still importing. But I do understand, like that just not resonating with them. We went from importing oil to importing refined fuel. We're still importing. But the difference is that under the old system, importing that oil came with additional costs because the refining costs, which we no longer carry, because the refinery is no longer in operation. So as I said before, we're no longer paying salaries and benefits, NIS, all them other things that the state had to be paying for. The money that they had to spend to maintain the refinery, to buy whatever was needed to when you have to bring in the contractors to replace this part and that part, we no longer have to spend those monies. So we're in a better position now. It makes more sense to import the refined fuel, you bunker it, you distribute it to the domestic market, and then you distribute what you need to distribute to the regional markets that you're selling to, and you make your money. Without the expenses of running a refinery, how difficult is that to understand? But when you are students of Kamlamatics, it is understandable why it wouldn't resonate. And when it reached there, it's just not going any further. But the same people for whom that seems to be difficult to understand, they want to call us, we stupid, we dotish, we drinking Balize juice. And that's what they want to say. I mean, anyway. So the Prime Minister is returning home today from 2 trips. The first of which was to Ghana. The second trip is to India. Well, it seems his trip to India is rubbing the supporters of that party, that other party, the other way. They're vexed because pictures have surfaced, have been published of the Prime Minister's time in India, where we see he would have visited some temples and so on. The Prime Minister went to India, as it has been reported, on the advice of, or not the advice of, the invitation of the Reliance Industries Group. Who is Reliance? Reliance is the company that is owned by one Mukesh Ambani. Who is Mukesh Ambani? The richest man in Asia and the 9th richest man in the world, with an estimated net worth of 116 billion US dollars, right? And his company, Reliance Industries, one of the largest, if not the largest, private corporation in India, and probably by extension Asia. And we know all the countries that Asia incorporates, so it's not just India, right? All of one of the industries that they are heavily involved in is oil and gas, the petrochemicals industry. Now again, I repeat, the Prime Minister was invited. He didn't invite himself. He was invited to come to India by the son of Mr. Ambani. So one Akash Ambani would have invited, or who knows, maybe even Mukesh might have invited the Prime Minister to come to India. And they gave him a tour of their facilities. Reliance Industries owns the Jamnagar Oil Refinery, which is the largest oil refinery in the entire world. Not in India, well, it's the largest in India, but it is by extension the largest in the entire world, with a throughput of about 1.2 million barrels of oil per day. That is the refining capacity of the Jamnagar Oil Refinery, refining more than 10 times what Petrotrin was refining, with less than half the staff that Petrotrin had. Let that sink in. The largest oil refinery in the world that was refining 1.25 million barrels of oil per day, more than 10 times what Petrotrin was refining, with a staff of less than half of what Petrotrin had. But the supporters of that other party want to tell you that Petrotrin needed all those people. Right? That's what they want to tell you. Forget efficiencies. So they're up in arms now, and I saw that the Doglaya decided to do a live yesterday to complain about some claim. I don't know where they would have gotten it from, and if it's true, that would be great. I think the Sunshine newspaper may have published something about that. That Reliance Industries, the owner of the Jamnagar Oil Refinery, may be interested in the purchase of the Petrotrin Oil Refinery. Now, one would think if that is in fact the case, that is very good, because they certainly have the money to buy it, unlike the OWTU, and patriotic. They ain't had to come with no kind of twist up, turn up, bend up proposal that makes absolutely no sense. They have the capital to be able to purchase outright, and they have the capital to be able to invest to bring the refinery up to par, to make it one of the best in the world. They have the capital to do that, right? And further to that, they have access to oil. So they could bring the oil here from wherever they get in the oil to supply the Jamnagar oil refinery, refine it, and they would provide refined fuels to the domestic market. And they would provide refined fuels to perhaps the regional markets. And other persons and other entities on this side of the world where Reliance doesn't really have much business interests at this time, and make more money. You would think that's a good thing, eh? Because so long since 2018, we're looking for a buyer. 6 years now. For 5.5, going on 6 years now, we're looking for a buyer. You would think that that is good news. And they'll say, yes, finally. Well, they have an issue with that. The supporters of that party, they griping and complaining about procurement and what was the procurement methodology that was used and all of that. Nothing has been confirmed. We haven't heard anything official from the government, from the Prime Minister, the Minister of Energy, anybody else. But the Doglaya saw it fit yesterday to do an 8-minute live to talk about that, to complain that if that is so, and Reliance is planning to buy the refinery and so on, that would be the biggest act of corruption, and they're not going to leave that so, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that and all kind of things. Here we are again. Sandals all over again. Every time Keith Rowley travels, he seeks an opportunity, especially when he has to give a speech, to market Trinidad and Tobago and by extension, CARICOM. So we saw when he went to Ghana and in giving his speech, honoring the Asante Hene and on his ascension to the throne, to the golden stool, I think they call it, the Prime Minister didn't just use his speech to heap accolades and platitudes on the Asante Hene. He used the opportunity to argue for, to promote increased trade between Trinidad and Tobago and the African continent, with Ghana as a gateway. He spoke about the possibility of direct flights between Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana. When he went to the United Arab Emirates a few months ago, it's the same thing, promoting, again, increased trade opportunities between the United Arab Emirates, where you have a lot of wealthy people, and CARICOM. And a memorandum of understanding, as we recall, would have been signed between authorities in the United Arab Emirates and the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago to explore the possibility of direct flights between Trinidad and Tobago and the United Arab Emirates. We understand the significance of that. They don't play that. Instead, they want to focus on how much money, how much taxpayers' money Rowley used, and who he carry to the Emirates, and who he carry to India, and who he carry to Ghana, and how much taxpayers' money he's using, and how much time he's spending. They want to file freedom of information requests to find out how much the tickets cost. But I tell them, you can't file no freedom of information to ask how much it costs to charter the jumbo jet. Because Keith Rowley, in his 9 years as Prime Minister, has never chartered a jumbo jet to go anywhere, unlike his predecessor who did it on at least 6 occasions. But the supporters of that party not interested to know how much money that cost them, because she was too good to go and do like Keith Rowley and sit down in business class, to buy business class tickets and fly, and then come off the plane and have to endure the embarrassment that he and Raul Gonzalez had to endure at some US airport, where they had to call them, they had to leave the VIP lounge to come down and present their passports and all kind of thing. You know why? Because they're traveling commercial. They didn't come on their own plane that was chartered from Caribbean Airlines and cost so much millions of dollars. He don't do that, and he has never done that. Since he has been Prime Minister, the only time he ever traveled on a helicopter was just over a year or so ago, when he was invited by what's the name of the entity, boy, Woodside, when they invited him to tour one of their offshore platforms. And he flew from Port of Spain to one of their offshore platforms and back. He didn't rack up $6 million in bills, taxpayers' money, to fly from the Queen's Park Savannah to his private residence in Glencoe. Unlike what his predecessor did. She allergic to traffic. So she needed to fly from the Queen's Park Savannah to the Pink Palace and back on a daily basis when the Prime Minister's residence, which was more than satisfactory, right around the corner, less than 5 minutes from her office, that wasn't good enough. She needed to fly to her personal residence and enjoy there, while her sister and niece and nephew and all of them living it up in the Prime Minister's residence and diplomatic center at the expense of taxpayers. But her supporters, they ain't studying about that. But they want to know how much money Rowley's spending to travel and how much it costing taxpayers. But you weren't interested between 2010 to 2015 how much it was costing taxpayers when Vidwati and the rest and her clan were living it up and eating and drinking high off the hog on your expense. Some of you all who couldn't put food on your table don't know where the next meal coming from, but money coming out from your salary every month in the form of income tax, which some of you no longer pay thanks to Keith Rowley because he increased your personal allowance 3 times. How many times did Kamala increase it? How many times? Not once. Zilch, nada, not once did she increase it. Right? Come and pull a stunt and pull wool over all the eye to tell you we reduced VAT on over 7,000 food items. But all you have to do is to go and Google the article, VAT of food flops, and read it and see that there was no benefit to the citizens. In fact, it worked to our detriment because the removal of the VAT simply saw the suppliers of these goods increase their prices to above what it was before the VAT was removed. As I just had to send that article to that same clown that I was exchanging with on Facebook. When you send them these things, they have no comment to make. And if they do decide to comment, they want, as he did, to jump and talk about Petrotrin and the price of fuel. Miss me with that bullspit. Miss me with that dotishness. You talk about, you raised the issue of the removal of VAT. I presented you with an article that shows there was no benefit to the citizens of the country for the removal of VAT on the 7,000 food items. You have no response to that. So what you had to do, come and tell me about Petrotrin and they shut down Petrotrin and the price of fuel. Look, all you ain't ready for this dance. But all you keep quiet. Keep quiet. I'll just bypass my comments straight. Please. But coming back to the issue of Dr. Rowley. Here it is that we have the 9th richest man in the world and his family inviting Dr. Rowley. I am sure if you ask Mukesh Ambani or you ask Akash Ambani or any of the other Ambanis, you know who can never say this, who? Who is she? Who she is? Who she be? They don't know. But they know who Keith Rowley is. So much so that the son, who is the CEO of Reliance, gave Dr. Rowley a personal tour of their facilities, took Dr. Rowley and his entourage to lunch. Right? And as I was telling you all, Dr. Rowley always seizes on the opportunity to market Trinidad and Tobago, to invite these people to come to this country and see what we have to offer. As he did when he was still leader of the opposition with respect to his interactions with the late Gordon Butch Stewart, the late chairman of the Sandals Group. And so convincing was Dr. Rowley that he was able to get Mr. Butch Stewart to come here and to engage the process of actually constructing a Sandals resort in Tobago. Well, Doc, you might have served better to encourage the man to build a resort in Trinidad. Maybe if we had gone with Trinidad instead of Tobago, we might have had a Sandals resort today. Because all the pushback we get about the ecological effects that the construction of this hotel could have, and all of that bacchanal. No Sandals today. But maybe if it was built in Trinidad, perhaps, we could have found somewhere, at Maracas or somewhere there to build it. You see, the issue here really is seafront. You want a resort like that, you're looking for seafront. Tobago have plenty. The Doc might have done better. Probably go up to Oko or somewhere and get them some land up there to build. Maybe we'd have had Sandals today. But we have none. And now, the Marriott, when they're wanting to build the Marriott in Tobago, and you're getting pushback, again, the same choppy talk. But I'll come into that issue just now. Right? That's a different topic I want to touch on. So I'm still dealing with Dr. Rowley's trip to Ghana, where he's marketing and encouraging people come to Trinidad. Trinidad is open for business. Right? He gave his speech. And unlike what his predecessor did when she went to her motherland, which was India, back in 2012 or so, and gallivanting all over India at the expense of taxpayers, so she's looking for she roots. Right? She's searching for roots. Dr. Rowley went to Ghana. He stayed in Ghana. He did what he had to do in Ghana, and then he left Ghana and went to India. I didn't hear he went to Somalia, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, South Africa, right? Or any of these other African nations say he's looking for roots. He want to find out where his great grandmother and grandfather came from. And yeah, he did that at the expense of taxpayers. He went to Ghana, he did what he had to do in Ghana, and he left Ghana. He didn't go anywhere else. He ain't take magnifying glass, hey, I come looking for my roots. Let me see if I could find my distant cousins 12 times removed. Didn't do that. But no kudos for that. All who are asking and want to know and concerned about how much taxpayers' money spent for he and Sharon to go to Ghana. They wasn't asking how much money was spent for Greg and Vidwati to go to India. Well, they wasn't asking that question so that they could look for the roots too. You all weren't interested in how much taxpayers' money spent then, right? Because always like, we were living in a veritable utopia. But today you're concerned about how much money. Well, Keith Rowley didn't go and look for roots. Now he wasn't interested. He went to India, they vex. He gone to a temple, they vex. Oh, he looking for votes. And they have so much temple in Trinidad, and he don't go to no temple in Trinidad, but he take taxpayers' money to go to India so that he could go to temple and visit temple in India. So they have a problem with the Prime Minister visiting a temple in India. What you want him to visit temples in Trinidad for? If he go to a temple in Trinidad, the first thing all he will say is he desecrating the temple. His presence there is a desecration. All kind of chopping talk and insults or they need to fumigate that temple. And they need to close down that temple. And they need to do some puja or something to cleanse the temple because he was there. All of this nastiness is what Ole will come and say. Or he go in there looking for votes. So why should he subject himself to that? Because he knows the caliber of people that support that other party and the nastiness that resides in your hearts and minds. So why should he subject himself to that? That is exactly what you all would say. So to miss us now with this nonsense of, he don't go to temples in China, he knows why. If he go to a mosque for Eid, we have a problem with that. Oh, wait, is he waiting for? Again, he looking for votes. If it is that the man sit down and he probably rest back his head and he closes his eye for 2 minutes, watch it. That's him. He got any people think and he's sleeping and he said, all of that. He decides to go somewhere for Eid and he giving out arms, or you have a problem with that. Every little thing that this man does, you all have a problem with. Right? And even if it is, God forbid, he were to close his eyes today or tomorrow, he'll have a problem with that too. I see this latest one, this comedian called himself NCW, he jumped on the bandwagon to criticize Dr. Rowley too. This kidnapping that took place, this unfortunate kidnapping that took place, what you want the Prime Minister to do here on the other side of the world? What you want him to do? There is a system in place that the police have a responsibility. What all you want him to do? Put on his khaki suit and Gideon boots and jump on a horse and go and fight crime? That's what all you want him to do? You all figure removing Fitzgerald Hines is going to solve our problem and fix the situation? Fitzgerald Hines was Minister of National Security when Gary Griffith was there. And I thought he was happy with Gary's performance, and Gary was doing so great, and Gary this, and Gary the great. Gary was Commissioner of Police. It was the same Fitzgerald Hines. You all weren't calling for Hines to go when Gary Griffith was there because you all were so pleased. Gary know how to handle crime and how to handle the police service. But Mr. Hines is there now, and you're not pleased with the performance of the police service under the current commissioner. You want to blame the minister. But when it is you all perceive that Gary was getting the kind of results that you all liked, nobody was saying, congratulations, Fitzgerald Hines. You all weren't giving Hines any credit for what it is you see the success, right? And the decline in murder figures. You all weren't giving any credit to Hines for that. As far as you all concerned, Hines had no involvement in that whatsoever. That was all Gary. All Gary. So if it is now that you're not seeing the results, why are you blaming the minister? If you weren't giving him the credit, why give him the blame? Put the blame where it should be. Put it on the police service. But the police service is now telling us the problems that they're experiencing, which is, even if they apprehend the criminals, it makes no difference. Because thanks to the UNC and the operatives, whether it's through the parliament or through the courthouse, the shenanigans in the parliament and the courthouse, when we arrest these people, we apprehend, we put in our blood, sweat, and tears to do investigations. And we apprehend these people, they come before the court, and by the end of the day, they appear before the court in the morning, and by night they lie down in the bed because they get bail. For serious crimes such as murder, which for 105 years they couldn't get bail for, which up until 2.5 years ago, if you were accused of murder, you are likely to find yourself on remand for at least 10 to 15 years before your case called. No longer the case. So these criminals are now committing these acts with impunity. Because if I could get bail for murder, which is perhaps one of the most serious crimes, well, if I kidnap and they catch me, I could get bail for that too. If I rob somebody, home invasion, I could get bail for that because all of these crimes are not as serious as murder. And if I could kill a man today, get bail for murder, I come out, I'm on bail for murder, and I commit another crime, and I come back before the court again, and I get in bail for this crime that I committed while I was on bail for murder. Whose fault is that? That is Hines' fault? Fitzgerald Hines stood before the court and said, my lady, my lord, I'm appealing to have the law that says if you're accused of murder overturned so you could get bail. Hines didn't do that. Talk to Jayanti, talk to Anand and the other UNC lawyers who went to court and thought that was a good idea. Talk to the members of the Law Association who had nothing to say when that was going on, but now they're seeing the impact of it and talking about, well, maybe we should review that. You all didn't think that you should have reviewed that at the time when the petition was before the court? You didn't think that was a good idea, because all this wrong here, but that's a good idea. But if they get you with that, I have a few of my clients who want inside there for murder. I could apply for bail for them, and whether they get bail or they don't get bail, they still have to pay me that money in my pocket because you all were thinking about self. And now the chickens have come home to roost, and we see it when they was telling us, well, it's just that they can access bail, but that don't mean that they will get the bail. But we're seeing a lot of these men who committing some of the most heinous murders getting bail. But they were telling us, nah, that ain't gonna happen. Don't worry about yourself. It is left to the discretion of the judicial officer, the judge or the magistrate. In this case, the master of the court, to decide whether or not this person is a threat to society. But when all your best lawyers go and put on the best of defense for your people, and the DPP office and the DPP, well, whatever reason he have for not wanting lawyers from the Commonwealth, so he working with whatever attorneys he has there, and they too probably bogged down because the amount of cases that they're dealing with, and they can't put in the best of prosecution or the best argument to have this person denied bail. And the police telling us it's not just the DPP officer, no. You have the arresting officers, you have the police service telling the officer, the judicial officer, if it's the judge, the master, whatever, we staunchly object to bail. And their arguments are falling on deaf ear, and these people still get in bail and they come back outside to kill again. So what do you think that message sends to them? I could kill, I won't get bail, and I'm coming right back out. So the people who are victims who may survive, what do you think they're going to do? So they shoot up, you kill two, but two escape. And they see and they know who the perpetrator is. What do you expect them to do? When it is the perpetrator is back out on bail the next day, they're fearful for their lives. You feel they're going to tell the police anything? They chirp it. Even if I tell the police anything, what happened? It makes no difference. That information just going to the DPP for him to prepare his case file to bring this matter before the court, to try the matter. But how long is it going to take for that matter to be tried? So me giving evidence as a witness is putting my life in danger. It makes no sense. Because the person is not behind bars. And even if they're behind bars, they could make a call and lick me up anyway. Because you have prison officers who facilitated that foolishness. Some of their colleagues have created a situation that the others have now found themselves in. That if it is they don't acquiesce to the demands of these criminals, they could very well find themselves being victims, murder victims themselves. How many incidents have we seen of prison officers, their home being shut up, prison officers being killed? Why? Because they refuse to be a part of this system. A system that has been created by the colleagues who were there before them, who want to eat our food. Some of them, they've gotten so deep in it, they can't come out now even if they want to. So they're taking the risk of bringing in the contraband into the service, and then they get in court, and now they find themselves, they are now criminals themselves, with cases before the court, on suspension. The whole system is broken. How you fix it? How are you fixing it? But we take into consideration the solution is to get rid of Hines, the solution is to get rid of Rowley, the solution is to get rid of the PNM and bring back the UNC. Bring back Kamala, right? Because the solution is to give everybody guns, make it easier for law-abiding citizens to get guns so they could defend themselves. But look, I saw an interview that was done on CNC3 News the other night, a home invasion. where a young lady had just come from work. She's standing on the front porch, and these two men run inside, run up on the porch, snatch her handbag, purse, everything, whatnot, and the like. The father inside the house, I think they said the father resides in Canada, but he's here. And the daughter telling him, don't come out, don't come out. So he inside. They take what they had to take the vehicle, and they go on with it. But I think the guy was saying that the thing unfolded so quickly that even if you have a firearm, you still can't help yourself. You can't defend yourself. What you're supposed to do? You think there aren't job opportunities for these miscreants? But they're not interested in working no 8 to 4, no 9 to 5. They are not interested in having anybody dictate their pace to tell them you have to come to work at this time. You could go to lunch at that time. You could only use the bathroom so many times through the day. You have to go to lunch at this time, and then you could leave at this hour. They're not interested in that. Because the money that they would make for the month or the fortnight from doing that, they could rob 2, 3 people and make more than that. And even if they get caught, because the party that sits on the opposition bench in this country has basically sought to shut down any legislation that denies bail. They believe Constitution guarantees you the right to apply for bail. But applying for bail don't necessarily mean that you're going to get it. That is the bullspit that they want to share with us and tell us, hold that. That is the bullspit they're spending. And then when you check and see who are the attorneys going to the court to represent these, they're all up in arms. The crime situation in this country is so bad and it's so terrible, and this government and they know what to do, and the government must go. But who it is going and stand before the judicial officer to argue for bail is the same UNC lawyers who crying about the crime situation. So the next time when it hit home, right, and you get robbed, you're the victim of a home invasion, or one of your family members gets killed, make sure and go in the courthouse when they catch the perpetrator and see who the attorney is. See who the attorney is that's standing before the court to plead, to beg the court to give them bail, and see which party they belong to. So when it is all you're vexed because you blame Kamala and you're blaming the UNC and the UNC not in power, understand the UNC doesn't need to be in power to be able to disrupt the system and disrupt the society. When they say they're going to make the country ungovernable, they know very well how to do it. They understand the courts very well. And I would defy any other supporters who are listening here to prove me wrong, to see who are the attorneys and the men who representing these criminals, these miscreants when they commit their crimes and they are caught, who going inside the courthouse to argue for them to get bail to come back out by the next day. Who doing it? The same hypocritical lawyers who crying crocodile chairs, but they're so fed up by the crime situation and the government, and Hines must go and they're fed up with Hines. But as I say, every man deserves a defense, whether he's innocent or guilty. Yeah? But let me come back to Dr. Rowley. So that's because Dr. Rowley went to a temple in India. Well, these people in India, and they have no problems with it. But his own countrymen have a problem with him going to a temple in India. Right? Okay. So we have an opportunity now. Reliance Industries, owned by the 9th wealthiest man in the world and the richest man in Asia, wants to come to Trinidad and Tobago to open a cricket academy. Reliance owns the Mumbai Indians, which is one of the premier teams in the IPL, right? But for which I believe Kieran Pollard is some batting coach or something of the sort. Forgive me, I really don't follow the cricket that much. So they want to come to Trinidad to spend their money to build a state-of-the-art cricket academy. State-of-the-art cricket academy. They have the finances to make sure it's the best in the world. But this cricket academy wouldn't only be for the benefit of the youngsters in Trinidad. It would open the gateway for cricketing hopefuls so that we could suss out the latent talent throughout the Caribbean region, throughout CARICOM. So if they build the academy in the likes of which Mr. Manning had envisioned for the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, where these young folks, men and women, because you have, sometimes you forget you have female, the women cricket team too, could come and stay. So it would be live-in quarters, and they could recruit some of the best cricketing talent in terms of coaches, former cricketing greats, to come to Trinidad and Tobago to serve as coaches. And who paying for it? Reliance. They have the money. So here it is, they are saying, Trinidad and Tobago, we want to construct a cricket academy. And we want to provide you with the best facility and the best coaches, cricketing coaches, so that We could build a formidable West Indies cricket team in the future. But they're also looking to build a pool of talent for the IPL in years to come, because they recognize a lot of the players who are in the IPL now, some of them are in the twilight of their cricketing years. And some of them probably have another 2-3 years at best. And then when they leave, where are we going to find replacements of that caliber? So we need to nurture them. And how do you do that? Look at one of the areas, the geographical areas in the world where you have some of the best cricketing talent coming from without a state-of-the-art cricketing academy. We don't have a state-of-the-art cricket academy here, but yet still we produce the likes of Pollard and Bravo, the Bravo brothers, Sunil Narayan, Lendell Simmons, Nicholas Puran, and all of these guys, Brian Lara and all of them, without a state-of-the-art cricket academy where they could practice the craft, hone the craft, and learn from the best. We don't have it here, and we're producing that talent. So imagine if it is that we had such a facility. And these clowns, that bald-headed degenerate, have a problem with that, talking about procurement. And that is how this government operating, that a man has an interest in building an academy, and you just give him a piece of land just so. And he wants to know what because the proposed site is in Trin City there, where that facility that was supposed to house the Pan Trin Bego headquarters is located. And I understand that there has been some agreement where Pan Trin Bego would be allocated another facility somewhere in Port of Spain, which might be more ideal for them, so that that property could be used to house the cricket academy, which would seek to nurture latent talent, as I said. So you would have more Trinidad and Tobago citizens having the opportunity to earn a living by playing cricket. Look at the kind of money that these guys have made. When you look at the houses of some of these guys, the Bravo brothers and Pollard and them in Santa Cruz, and you see the kind of houses, these are houses that you only see on MTV Cribs and so on. The vehicles these guys driving, they're doing very well. And the Reliance Group is coming to build an academy that could provide future citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, men and women, the opportunity to earn that type of living, to improve the stock. But not just that, it will create employment first in the construction of the academy, and then you would need staff for the management of the economy. You would have some of the best cricketing coaches located in Trinidad, whether they come from Australia or India or the West Indies or wherever, providing the best, because it would attract persons from throughout the region coming to Trinidad. We talk about sport tourism. This is another opportunity. But you have the opposition who coming to pour sand in it even before the ink is dry. Sandals all over again. So you have the bald-headed degenerate that is Ina Roberts talking about if that happened, and they're not going to let that rest, and what they're going to do. So they're going to rally people like the Underground Report to get the few illiterates to come and protest and talk about procurement. But I want to ask him, what was the procurement methodology used to give Baraka grounds to Inshan Ishmael? What was the procurement methodology used? Did you all put that out for tender? Did you invite proposals? And Mr. Ishmael and his group won the tender? What was the procedure for that? You see, all the figure we forget, but we didn't forget. Those lands were supposedly given to the Muslim community to build a hospital. But long before construction started on the hospital, they built a food court, they put in a swimming pool, they put a car wash and other commercial facilities on the land to make money. Long before they even turned sod to lay the foundation for the hospital, that was a commercial enterprise. Who benefited from that? That was part of the agreement. You gave this land to Mr. Ishmael and his group and tell them, yeah, well, they could put all of these commercial facilities and make money. But you have a problem with a company coming here to build a cricket academy to benefit the future generation of cricketers in the region, not just Trinidad and Tobago. We see what their problem is. They like to talk stupidness, but Rowley always traveling, and we don't get nothing comes from these travels. But when it is that things like these, when stuff like that rears head and these things come to fruition, they could say that how much they want. All Dr. Rowley had to do is to say, well, go up to the city and you will see what fruit my trip has borne. So that's why I know they always talk about foreign direct investment, and under Rowley, foreign direct investment is negative and negative and negative. But these are the things they don't like. So they've already put us on notice based on this live that was done by that bald-headed degenerate, that clown, that they do not intend to support it. And was the hypocrisy? Just a couple of weeks ago when they were debating in the Senate, the bill regarding the T20 World Cup, he was same bald-headed clown in his 42-minute contribution in the Senate. Spoke a lot about the lack of facilities in Trinidad and Tobago. He talked about we get a brown bag. In 2007, we got a brown. They say we have a brown package. Now we get a brown bag because he's displeased with the matches that we got. But the two countries that are hosting warm-up matches is Trinidad and Tobago and USA. So he vexed because Barbados get matches and Barbados hosted the final and all of that. And he's displeased because the biggest market for T20 cricket and this World Cup is India, with a population of 1.2 billion people will be viewing this thing. And we lose out on an opportunity to market Trinidad and Tobago because during the cricket matches, we could be showing them videos of Maracas Beach and Bacon Shack. He's saying that that's all Trinidad and Tobago has to offer. Maracas Beach and Bacon Shack. And we could have showed them doubles and pilau and all kind of nonsense. Right? That is his idea of marketing Trinidad and Tobago. That's all we have. So come to Trinidad and Tobago, you go Maracas Beach, you eat a Bacon Shack, and then after that you sit down like Alice in Wonderland trying to figure out, well, what to do next, boy? What else Trinidad and Tobago have? Because this is the only thing they were showing on the videos. These videos that, according to him, cost something like 50,000 US for a 30-minute slot and all of that. Right? He vexed about that. Talking nonsense about because they hosted the match at the Brian Lara Stadium and they're not having it at the Queen's Park Oval. And if they had it at the Oval, you have all of these restaurants in the area that people could go to and patronize. And when the foreigners come in to view the matches, they could go and eat at these establishments and partake and participate. And the people in Trinidad can make a little money. When you're dotish and you don't know, I don't know if it is that the heat, the extreme heat these days, like it scorches brain. If you host the matches, whether it's at the Brian Lara Stadium or you have it at the Oval, if you host it at the Brian Lara Stadium, right? There are benefits to be had. Because the same people who come in from abroad who you're talking about, who you're saying will go to the restaurants and stuff, if they go to the Brian Lara Stadium, they don't have to eat. So when the match finish and they come back to Port of Spain, where feel they're going to do? Because more than likely, it's Port of Spain they'll be staying. Because the hotels in and around Port of Spain, the Marriott, the Hyatt, the Hilton, the Bricks, these are the hotels where these persons are likely to stay. Right? So when they come back to Port of Spain, you don't say, let me look for something to eat, what they have. Let's see what they have. We don't want the hotel food. So let's go. It is the same restaurants and that's going to benefit. You will have less traffic in Port of Spain when the matches are being played, which I think that citizens like myself who go to Port of Spain on a daily basis would appreciate. Rather than this street block off and that street block off and you have to be going so and detour and a whole set of traffic in and around the city. Have the matches outside. If it is that you have the matches at the Oval, the people who stay in at these hotels which are in and around the vicinity of the Oval, they don't need to take a taxi. They just walk. If you're staying at the Hilton, you could walk from the Hilton to the Queen's Park Savannah. You just come out, you come down Lady Young, and you cross the road, and you just make your way around the Savannah. So you're sightseeing in the interim, and you walk. So taxis are making no money there. You're staying at the Hyatt, you come out, you walk down Rising Road, right? You walk up Colville Street, you go up Cipriani Boulevard there, you come around, you go around you're sightseeing, you're taking a cool walk. So you could do that. Again, you ain't need no taxi. Some of them might take a taxi. You're staying at the Marriott, the same thing. You come outside, you cross the Audrey Jeffers Highway, you walk up the Maraval Parkway, you go down Arapita Avenue, and you go up one of those side streets, and you reach by the Oval. You ain't need no taxi for that. You're staying at the Radisson, the same thing. So, but if it is that the matches at the Brian Lara Stadium, you can't walk from any of these hotels to the Brian Lara Stadium, which means you need to utilize the services of shuttles, maxis and taxis and so on. So these people making a little extra money. But he understand that. So he have a problem with, you choose the Brian Lara and you have no set of places around there to eat. This is the level of idiocy that you could expect should these people come back into office. Right? That you could expect. That is the level of idiocy. And he come to talk that in the parliament and to talk that on a live and figure he's so bright and that making sense to he. And I heard Wade Mark saying last week that he is to be the next, that he, Anil Roberts, is to be the next minister of sport. He said, Kamala, tell him that. He is going to be the next minister of sport. Now imagine, they haven't had screening yet. He filled his nomination papers for St. Joseph. What a farce. What a farce. She done declaring him already as the next Minister of Sport. So the first incarnation as Minister of Sport wasn't bad enough. She wanted to give Ole a second dose so he could finish what he started between 2010 to 2014. Wade Mark said so. Go back and play it and you will see for yourself. Wade Mark says that. Or you could go on the UNC Cabal Facebook page and you will see it. The clip with Wade Mark saying that Kamla Prasad-Bissessar said he, Handel Roberts, is the next Minister of Sport. Right? So we could get live sport 2.0. He could find another Adolphus Daniel this time instead of 34. He could give him 68 million. No procurement. He want to come and talk about procurement, but I ask him, what was the procurement process that was used to award Adolphus Daniel and EBeam $34 million? He can't tell you. He can't tell you. But want to come and talk about procurement. They can't be serious. But again, let me come back to Dr. Rowley. So the Prime Minister has gone out, and I am almost certain that either during the tour of the Reliance facility, the petrochemical facilities, or at lunch, that Dr. Rowley would have broached the subject of the refinery. That we have a refinery available, and he would have probably spoken about the benefits to be had, the potential income-generating opportunities for the purchase of the refinery, and for them to use Trinidad and Tobago as their base to sell refined products to the region and who knows beyond. They could even upgrade the refinery and improve the throughput capacity, because I think the max throughput capacity for that refinery is 180,000 barrels of oil per day. There is nothing preventing them from upgrading the refinery to maybe accommodate 250,000 barrels or 300,000 barrels of oil per day. And if they have access to the oil, you just ship it to Trinidad and Tobago, you refine it, you sell it. As we have said, whoever owns the refinery, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, would be your first customer. Your first customer. So you know at least you have this country and all the other countries where we may sell to, as the case may be, wherever it is, all they need to work out and so on. You could do that. But they have a problem with that and have signaled, and if you're so inclined, go and listen to the live. I could have made today a Craving Indulgence moment and played for it to hear for yourselves, where he is saying that if that is the case and the government sells the refinery to Reliance, that all hell going and break loose and whatnot and stuff, and they will not support it. So they already letting Mr. Ambani and his people know, don't expect an easy time if that is the case and all they come in here to buy that. You will face the wrath of the opposition. Because they're depending on the continued closure of that refinery to use in the arsenal for the 2025 general election. To come and talk that to people. So they don't want that refinery to sell, even if it is to the richest man in the world, the ninth richest man in the world. Even if it is to the richest man in Asia. Even though it would create employment, it would revive all of the fence line communities, all of the jobs that they tell you were lost because of the closure of the refinery, and all the companies that were providing this, that, the other, and the next to Petrochin, that it would see a revival in their fortunes, especially if it is that Reliance decides that they want to expand the refinery. They don't care about that. You know what they care about? We need the refinery to remain closed so we could use it for the election. So any attempt by this government to sell it to this Indian company, we have a problem with. And we will not allow it to go easy. So the same tactics that they use for sandals, they will revive it and create all kind of couture and bacchanal and propaganda and falsehoods, because they know it have real softheads in this country who will take that and buy that and run with it and create a whole big stir and protest because they're so concerned about proper procurement and proper procurement. But all they didn't care about procurement between 2010 to 2015 when all kind of wrongdoing was taking place. All didn't care about procurement then. When it is they wanted to give away the lands at Invaders Bay to Dachin Enterprises, to the Movitong folks. And the then Minister of Trade and Industry, who was responsible for that, said that the decision to award the lands to Dachin or to the Movitong folks was as a result of not any procurement, it was as a result of a legal opinion that they sought, the ministry sought, from senior counsel, eminent senior counsel. So much so that the JCC took them to court after they filed a freedom of information request to get this legal opinion to substantiate the decision to give the lands at Invaders Bay to that group. The man refused, Botiwari refused, and when he refused, the JCC took them to court. and the judge ordered them to release the report to the JCC. And in contempt of court and in contempt of the judge, he refused, saying that that is attorney-client privilege and that they paid for that and therefore they are not going to release it. Up until the time that they were voted out of office, they still refused to release this legal opinion that they said informed the decision to award the lands at Invaders Bay behind Movietown to the Movietown folks. The then minister got like, they just forget them things. I want to talk about proper procurement and proper procurement. And oh, this government always hiding and hiding. So if it is there was nothing to hide in that transaction, why didn't you obey the court? But they were prepared to be held in contempt of court to not release. And unlike what obtained, when it is they were trying to get the witness statements with respect to the Malcolm Jones matter and the decision of the government to withdraw the case against Malcolm Jones, where the Prime Minister said the buck stops here. You see this sort of thing about going to court on La Bacchanal? They want the witness statements, give it to them. Give them it. He said that. He instructed his then Minister of Energy, Franklin Kahn, to instruct the Board of Petrotrain. They want the witness statements. We forget it. The court matter ends here. Give it to them. But when it is asking for that legal opinion that informed the decision to award the lands to the Movietown folks, did Kamla Persad-Bissessar say to her minister, there's nothing to hide, give it to them? No, she didn't do that. She continued to side with her minister and in contempt and defiance of the court to not release it. But you had nothing to hide, but always accusing this government of being secretive and hiding and only want probity and transparency. But they didn't know those two words when they were in office between 2010 to 2015. No, they didn't know about it. But all of a sudden now, that is prominent in the vocabulary. Prominent in the vocabulary, right? But accusing this government of all manner of wrongdoing. Upon his arrival from his trip abroad. And again, he's coming in on a commercial flight. He's not coming in on a jumbo jet that the government, that you, the taxpayers, had to lease, with him and a whole entourage. Remember when his predecessor went to India with her entire entourage? What she came back with? She carried the marriage, the parish, and then some. Whole business contingent. So they're looking for business opportunities in India. What did we get? It cost you, taxpayer, 15 million. What did you get? How many business opportunities? Did the richest man in India offer to build anything in Trinidad and Tobago as a result of Mrs. Persad-Bissessar's trip to India? Did he? Did he make any pledge to do anything here? No, he didn't. So when all they want to criticize, and plenty of them who will be listening, when you see the Prime Minister's press conference is being broadcast on Facebook, read the comments and you will see the kind of nastiness that you will be seeing in the comments. Bet you on that. Only nastiness you will be seeing in the comments. All kind of insults about how he's a hypocrite and he gone in India and he this and he that and the other. But I didn't see any pictures or videos of him bending down to kiss anybody's foot or to touch anybody's foot. I didn't see any videos like that. I saw a Prime Minister in full stride, right? In what appeared to be serious conversation with officials from the Reliance Group. We don't know what was discussed, but I suppose he will probably speak to that issue when he comes back this afternoon. He will address that. I don't know what it was said, so I can't speak about it now. But once, after the press conference, I can probably make a comment or two on some of the things that he will reveal this afternoon. But just understand that while they have their miscreants ready and waiting to come and oppose the Cricket Academy, to oppose any possible sale of the refinery to Reliance, where is the counter to that? Where are the right-thinking citizens to come out and tell this recalcitrant minority, Roxo, stop trying to upend things that could benefit the country because all you need ammunition for 2025. We, the citizens, are saying we want it. We want the Cricket Academy. We don't mind if the government took a decision to award the lands to the persons to build it. We don't care. At the end of the day, we're looking at the long-term benefit. Because as far as I know, there is nobody else who is saying we want that land to build anything to benefit the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean region. Nobody else has stepped forward for that. So don't come and tell me, I'm not chopping this, but somebody else could build something else there. That had belonged to Pan Trinbago, and Pan Trinbago is prepared to give it up. So they too see the benefit in what could come out of that. And who knows, that could just be the stepping stone for more investments from the Reliance Group in Trinidad and Tobago, who have business across several different sectors. So they could come here on an exploration. So while they're here overseeing the construction of the academy, they could say, well, let's take the opportunity to see what other investment opportunities Trinidad and Tobago has. What else can we invest in? What other sectors can we invest in and bring Indian capital to Trinidad and Tobago? That is what they don't want. It mustn't come under Rowley and the PNM. So Rowley and PNM could lay the groundwork, but it must come under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. So they're talking now nonsense about, oh, but Rowley is going to beg. When it was during COVID, he said he didn't want no vaccine from India, and he ain't begging nobody, but he gone in there now to beg. Well, if the Prime Minister went to beg, sir, thank you for begging. Because anything that you beg for is not for your personal benefit or that of your family. You beg on behalf of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So I thank you for being a beggar. If they want to label you as a beggar, thank you for being a beggar. And for begging for things that could benefit the wider society and not just a minute few. Thank you for that. Beg for proper things that could benefit the citizens for years to come. Not things that is just momentary, right? Thank you that when you went to Ghana, you didn't go to look for roots, but you looked to establish linkages between CARICOM, because he spoke about CARICOM, Trinidad and Tobago, and CARICOM. He didn't leave out CARICOM. He wasn't selfish to talk about Trinidad and Tobago alone, but said the region. So there are a couple other things I wanted to touch on, but I'm looking at the time. So let me deal with this. I heard this clown, this LBA, who was by the name Wall Street, Professor Wall Street. His resume, now what is he? Come with some statistics called the Juju Love program on Friday. Juliet wasn't there, and it was being, I think Dale the voice was holding on for Juliet. And this clown decided to call in to talk about, under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the poverty rate among Black people was 17%, but now under the RPNM, under Keith Rowley is 26%. And under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the unemployment rate of African persons was 16% or some stupidness one. Now it's 20-something% under Keith Rowley. For months, he has been spewing this foolishness. And ask him where he gets his statistics from, he can't share it. Where he gets it from, he can't share his statistics. But his statistics are as bogus as his resume, calling himself Professor Wall Street, and he's this big professor at Seton Hall College. But when you go online and you look at these student reviews about him as a professor, he should be ashamed. But coming to quote statistics about the poverty under Keith Rowley and no opportunities for African persons. I read for you all on Wednesday last an article where the East Port of Spain Development Company is embarking on an initiative to boost entrepreneurship in East Port of Spain, where they will be providing grants of up to $20,000 to budding entrepreneurs, persons who have business ideas, who reside in the East Port of Spain area. We're talking about Duncan Street, Nelson Street, all those streets there, parts of Belmont, Barcelona Street, all up in the back there, going up on that side. So all the way, I think, probably going up to Pashley Street and Erica Street up on that side up there, right? Beetham, Sealots, and all of these areas where they're looking to provide opportunities for these people, because they're saying they have nothing in these communities for persons of African descent, and that is why you have so much crime in these areas. So they're providing grants of up to $20,000 to persons who probably have businesses right now and looking for seed capital to expand their business. This facility is for you, but it is limited to persons on East Port of Spain. The government have a number of other grant facilities that is available to citizens throughout Trinidad and Tobago. But this one targets persons who reside in East Port of Spain, where there is a need for direct intervention. I hear Professor Wall Street talk about that. I hear Kingsley talk about that. The Queen of EDR, she ain't talk about that, right? Because I visited her page to see if it is she do a live to talk about that. No talk about that. She who always representing for East Dry River and East Port of Spain and things for the youth and things for the youth. Here it is that you have an opportunity for the youth to become business owners, self-employed. No talk about that. She ain't ringing no bell, ting, ling, ling, ling to talk about that, right? But cavorting all over the place with the UNC and all up under Kamla, well, that is all right. She could do that. I just have a problem with you misrepresenting yourself as PNM and doing that foolishness. Because if you're PNM, you ain't doing that. Don't tell me nothing about your PNM, but when it comes down to it on election day, you're going and cast your ballot for the PNM. But in the meantime, for the entire time that this government has been in office, you're bad talking them, have nothing good to say, encouraging people not to support them, doing your damage. Because while you may have reason for your allegiance to the PNM because your benefit when Patrick was there, that your father, Patrick was your father, and you get this and that. So you will see, you think in your mind you're doing something good. You will say what you want to say, bad talk this administration, bad talk the Prime Minister. You're eating your food on the other side and then talking about your PNM, and at the end of the day when it comes down to it, so you will do 9 years, 10 years of damage by doing lives, bad talking the government, and expect to undo all of that psychological damage in 2 months before the election. So the young people who didn't benefit from Mr. Manning in the way that you benefited, the young people who were too young to remember how Mr. Manning and the PNM impacted the economy of this country, right? So that when they hear you saying all kind of thing and oh, it's better Kamala come back because when Kamala was there, she do this and she do that, and if Kamala come back, you might get this and they get this school and that school, and they're hearing that, right? Their allegiances to the PNM is not what your allegiance is. So if you think that you could undo 9 and 10 years of foolishness in the space of 2 months before an election, Mr. Sweda BS. So I have a problem with that. But further to that, I saw a couple nights ago, in addition to this $20,000 grant and the technical support to go with it, which is very important. So not only are they telling you, come, you could get a grant for $20,000. You're selling on Charlotte Street, you're selling market produce, or you're selling slippers, boxer shorts, clothes, clothing item for children, whatever you have your spread on Charlotte Street, Henry Street, Frederick Street, whatever it is, you have a little store in Eastside Plaza, as the case may be. Or you have a little something in New City Mall. They're saying, come, you want to expand your business, we could give you a grant. Not a loan, it's a grant. So you don't have to pay it back. Take that $20,000 and help yourself. Expand your business. We will give you the technical support and the wherewithal to show you how you can maximize this $20,000 to the fullest. So that you wouldn't go and purchase things or spend it in a way that doesn't really benefit you. We will give you that guidance. They have now taken it a step further based on what I saw the other night on the news. Now they're offering free space and reduced rents for tenants in New City Mall. So when Philip Alexander wanted to downplay the significance of this, talking about your mama guy and the people, because when it is that you're setting up a business, you had to study about rent and all that kind of thing. They're giving free space now in New City Mall. It was announced. So you're now looking to start up your business. You want to bring in clothes to sell, or you have a skill. You could sew and you're sewing whatever. Whatever it is, whatever business you want to get into, that could be facilitated there. They are giving you free space, and for some persons who may be there, you're going to get reduced rents to encourage people to take up the opportunity. But you hear any of them talking about that? But this clown from New Jersey coming to quote statistics to tell you under Kamala Persad-Bissessar poverty in the black community was 17%, and now is 20-something%. But wouldn't give kudos to the government for all of these initiatives that they're putting in place. And I want to ask Professor Ford Street, what did Kamala Persad-Bissessar do between 2010 to 2015 for the black or the African community that you reference in East Port of Spain to bring them out of their lot? What did she give them that is comparable to what is now being offered? Tell me, what did she do that is comparable to giving these people the opportunity to become self-employed, to start their own business? In addition to giving them the money and the technical support, you're now offering them free space in New City Mall to house their business. Reduce rents to house their business. Not for them to get a work. Right? Not for them to look for a work. What did Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the People's Partnership do? Other than Color Me Orange, which was the only program that they had specifically targeted for East Port of Spain. Color Me Orange. $69 a day for 3 months to paint derelict buildings. Buildings that should have been torn down a long time ago and rebuilt. That is what she offered the same people. Some of these ungrateful wretches who in East Port of Spain now and talking about, oh, you know, Kamala is my mother and Kamala this and Kamala that and that. I listened to the waste of time crime talks, and I saw some people, one woman come on to talk about her son was killed the other day on I think Charlotte Street. Condolences to her and the family. But oh, Kamala is my mother, and Kamala, and you know Kamala and Kamala. What Kamala do for you? How has your lot improved? So $69 a day for 3 months to paint buildings. And when you finish on that project and you sit down like little Jack Horner in a corner, you're thumbing your mouth and wondering what next, boy. I wonder when the next program coming out. I wonder when is the next one. Let me see if I could find out so I could go and put on my name early. But the $69 a day that you were getting for the last 3 months, it's done. They come and offer you a program and tell you how to pay for the uniform too. So the $69 that they were paying you, they come to tell you, well, you know, some of that had to come out to pay NIS and some of that had to come out to pay for your uniform. So what you're really left with? That is what she offered them. The people of East Port of Spain, she come and tell her the same buildings that they paint. But when they go on the inside, ask her if she ever went on the inside of any of these buildings to see the condition of some of these apartments that desperately need work. Not even work. It needs to be torn down. What did she do? She tell her, come, we will sell it to you for $100. We don't care if you're owing the HDC thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in rent. Where your rent is $100 and something a month, but you ain't paying that. You haven't. The last time you paid was in 1969. Come, we will sell it to you for $100 and we give you a deed that says it's yours. But understand that relinquishes all responsibility from the HDC. So when the sewer clog up, nobody to call HDC. That is all they own. All they need to come together as a community and find the money to fix it. So when a strong breeze blow and 3-4 brews blow off, nobody to call HDC. HDC ain't responsible for that no more. That's what she offered them. That's what she offered them. While they're boasting 100 houses a week and giving it away to their supporters, that's what she wanted to give to the people of East Port of Spain. Only a set of handouts. But Keith Rowley and the PNM is saying, come, we want to give you a hand up. Come, we'll give you a hand up. We're giving you the opportunity to start your business. Your own business. Yes, we see some of you all start businesses already and you're selling. It's time for you to come off of Charlotte Street. Time for you to come off Henry Street and go inside. Go inside premises. So at the end of the day, you could turn a key, lock a padlock, and you know you're good safe inside a building. Right? We're giving you that opportunity. But even if it is you still want to have a branch on Charlotte Street and Henry Street, on the pavement, you could still do that too. So you have one in New City Mall and you have one on Charlotte Street too. You need to get somebody to man the one in New City Mall. So you're making double the money. We will train you in how to run and manage a small business. All of these are opportunities that they're giving these people. But Kingsley wouldn't call the radio station to talk about that and encourage people in his community of East Port of Spain to go and take advantage of the opportunity. Right? The Queen of the EDR wouldn't do a live to encourage the people in her community to take advantage. Wall Street wouldn't go and educate himself on it and show the people where they could find the link to sign up. He wouldn't post it up on his Facebook page, but only posting a set of ridiculous YouTube videos to criticize Dr. Rowley and talk about them 2 buildings in Chumacac and what they should do with it. Totin, to banker all these years because you figure when Dr. Rowley came to New York, to New Jersey, or wherever it is, and you wine and dine him in your house, so you give him the finest cutlery, you brought out the best china and the best alcohol and so on, and figure that he would have given you the building that you wanted, the old workers' bank building, and you ain't get it, so you're totin. So since then, you hate the RPNM and every opportunity that you get, but wouldn't use your platform to promote these things, to tell these people in the community, look, the government giving all you an opportunity. So instead of only talking about the 1% and the government only care about the 1% and the 1%, tell me what the government has done for the 1% in the past few years. Tell me. Go all around Port of Spain and you will see big signage up in open lots where the government going to build state-owned facilities to take money out of the pocket, rental income, out of the pocket of the 1%. Drive down Tragrit Road and you will see at the corner of, what is that? I think is Victoria Avenue and Tragrit Road. You will see the fencing up and the signage where they're going to put up the headquarters for the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Today, the headquarters of that building, of that ministry, is renting out of a building owned by Zaman Enterprises, which belongs to the in-laws of Faris Al-Rawi. Today. But soon enough, that will come to an end. In the same way, the rental of the Massey building on Park Street, where the Ministry of Health was renting for years, spending $8 to $12 million a year in rent. Today they have their own building, beautiful building around the savannah. So they ain't paying no rent to Massey no more. Right? Behind what is now the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in St. Clair, just opposite Cape Park Hotel behind there, you will see again, fencing up, big sign, the new headquarters for the EBC. The EBC today is renting out of Scott House on Frederick Street, again, paying rent into the pocket of the 1%. The government is going to build them their own building, owned by the state. So whoever is the landlord for Scott House, soon enough, the rent that they've been collecting for donkey years will cease. So that is one other 1% whose bank account will be impacted because of this government's decision to invest taxpayers' money to build state accommodation and premises that is owned by you, the citizens, instead of millions of dollars going to pay rent. Go up on Pembroke Street, to the top of Pembroke Street, just before Atlantic Plaza. You will see a whole car park area there that is now to be fenced off, and you will see the sign. They're going to put up a new headquarters for the NLCB. The NLCB that is currently renting on Duke Street, just next to the car park there by where Israel Khan's Law Chambers is, and around the corner is the Magistrates Court. Right there, EBC renting there for many years, but soon enough they will have their own building built by the state. So whoever collecting rent for that building on Duke Street, prepare yourself. Soon enough your bank account will be impacted because you will no longer be collecting any rent from the state for the NLCB head office. And we continue to see examples of this taking place over the country, where the government is taking the 1% income that they've been receiving for years. I always reference that blue glass building at the corner of Abercrombie Street and Independence Square, where for years customs was. For the last 8, almost 9 years, that building has been empty since customs moved out because Keith Rowley and his administration had the good sense to utilize the building on Ajax Street, which is part of government campus, to give customs their own building. So whoever is St. Nicholas no longer collecting rent from the state for that building where customs was for donkey years. And go up Abercrombie Street and see all those buildings that were occupied by the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education. The building on Queen Street that used to house the head office of the BIR. Today, BIR have their own tower on Ajax Street as well. So whoever owned that building there, forget that, no more rent. Haven't been collecting rent for years. But they want to tell you, Keith Rowley in the back pocket of the 1%. This government has done more damage to the bank accounts of the 1% than any other administration. But for all the griping and complaint of the UNC about how much money this government put in the pocket of the 1% by renting buildings, how many of those buildings did they renew the leases between 2010 to 2015 rather than do what this administration did, which was to build buildings? They built one building in Shogunas on the Nassau Ramaya Road, which now houses the Ministry of Agriculture. They built that. But prior to that, that building was supposed to house the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Tertiary Education. And when this administration came in, they changed that and they put the Ministry of Agriculture there because agriculture is seen to be centralized. The building that now houses the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, under them, between 2010 to 2015, that building used to house the Ministry of Agriculture. The building was run down, beat up, it was looking the worst, right? It fit in with how the Magnificent Seven looked like between 2010 to 2015, all and run down. They had no interest in refurbishing these buildings. You're passing there. This is an active building that is being used to house our ministry. They wouldn't even put a coat of paint. For those of you who recall how that building used to look horrible, couldn't believe, but a brand new Porsche Cayenne. Well, remember the fiasco with Passan Barrett as minister and when he bought the purple Porsche Cayenne for his personal use. Brand new Porsche Cayenne parked up in front of the building, but the building looking run down like it should have been torn down. This administration came and wished it looks so beautiful, right? Yes, it fits into the aesthetic of all the others, the Magnificent Seven that this government restored. That today is that we could look at with a sense of pride. If they had won another 5 years, bet your bottom dollar today, when Millflow is standing and earning income, it would have been an empty lot. An empty lot. Because it was a hazard, it was blocked up. It looked like a real eyesore. But this administration came in, and when the recommendation was to tear it down, they decided to look to Cuba. And the Cubans who have expertise in restoration of historic buildings came and they fixed it today. Millflow is a thriving entity, earning income every day, every week, whether it is through under the management of the National Trust, hosting weddings, hosting corporate parties and corporate events and making money. Is the site of corporate advertisements and all of that. In demand, every week you have people come into Millflow. They want to rent it for a different event. Making money, but under them for 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, not 1 cent was earned by Millflow. Same thing with Stallmeyer's Castle. No money being made. Today, Stonemeyer's Castle is restored. It is being used for a host of events. Earning money, earning its keep for its maintenance. Under them, when the tourists come, it's just a drive past street. What you have to look at? You want to look at an old derelict building, and if you stand up too long and a breeze blow, the building might collapse in front of your very eyes. No. So the Maxis used to pass straight. Even Whitehall, which is yesterday renovated, renewed, and is utilized by the Prime Minister. But under them, between 2010 to 2015, you're passing and you're seeing the rafters hanging. Right? This was for previously the office of the Prime Minister. I think the only Prime Minister who never sat in that office was Kamla Persad-Bissessar. And for the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that she was there, and spent one dime. Well, they spent money. I don't know what was spent on or what it did. Right? Because that all of them look horrible. President's house. After it collapsed, with the storm, I think it was in 2010 or 2011, they put up a canopy. Jack Warner, as Minister of Works and Infrastructure, told the then President Max Richards, don't worry, before you demit office as president, this building would be restored and you will move into it. That happened. Max Richards, God rest his soul, demitted office as president. His predecessor came in, served his entire term, and the building still wasn't restored. This big canopy, it took this administration to come in and fix it. Today, there is something for the tourists to see when they come. In any other jurisdiction, you have the president's house, a heritage house in that condition that they had it in, and they're proud of that. Any other jurisdiction, they would have stoned the government for that. Shameless. Shameless. But they want to come and talk and criticize this administration, and where they put in money in the pockets of the 1%. But you see, these things are not published, and this is why I keep saying the government needs to do more to market what it is that you are doing. Because how many times have I had conversations with persons who support that other party, and when I tell them all the things that the government do, and they say, but they didn't know about that, where you could find that information, how come we ain't seeing that? I can't tell you. I know where to go and look for it. But if it's not in your face, these people are not going to go on the websites and the Facebook pages of these ministries to see what work they're doing. So the government needs to do more to promote so people could see. Some of these people genuinely want the information, but if all this being fed is propaganda and there is no response to the propaganda, what do you expect? When I went on my trip last week, right? I went, a couple of my friends, and these are people who used to bash the government. Oh, think Trinidad should look like this country, and Trinidad should look, why we can't be like America, and why we can't have this, and why we can't have that. But I always say some of the biggest critics are the people who never travel and have no idea what exists outside. So they see what they see on YouTube and on social media and what they see on TV and figure that when you go outside there, it's a veritable utopia and everything perfect. Well, my friends went in for a rude awakening. Rude awakening. Yeah, because I took them around to see. I see all they figure everything is all honky-dory up here and you like to compare Trinidad. I showed them some of the potholes he couldn't believe that he was in the United States of America. As we drove into Manhattan, he couldn't believe. He said, this is New York? Yes, this is New York. When you see the state of it, some of the buildings looking around and it look nice on TV, you know. But when you're actually there and you drive into Manhattan and you see the condition, when you see the traffic, yeah, and the litter on the side of the road, but they give you the impression, oh, you can't litter in America because you'll get a ticket. He was surprised. I said, come, let me show you. You see for yourself. Because when it is, I talk in these things, all this figure, I'm making it up. I say, come, let me show you this road, this stretch of road here. You know how long they're doing this road work? Since 2021, we're in 2024. They still up this simple stretch of road here. Big potholes. Yes, you're in the US, you're driving down the I-95 and you're seeing the road patch, a major highway, patch here, patch there, patch there. And he can't believe that this is the United States of America, that he sees on TV and figure that it's all so perfect. Walking down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, and a woman sit down on the side of the road with a newborn baby. First day we arrived there, freezing cold, rain falling. Your joints stiff, faucet cold. And this woman sit down there, lean up against a lamppost with this newborn baby, and she there cuddling and with a sign saying she fall on hard times and if he could give her some assistance. And he had to pull out his wallet and give her 20 US. Right? He from Trinidad. That always bad talking. But here it is, this young mother looked like she could be in her mid-20s, sit down on the pavement in Fifth Avenue, where all the money is. Trump Tower is on Fifth Avenue. all these big brands, Zara and who not on Fifth Avenue. Everybody passes on Fifth Avenue because they want to go to Rockefeller Center and they want to go down to the big church, the cathedral, and all these other buildings, passing there from all over the world and seeing that. US veterans sitting in a wheelchair in the cold begging for money. And we citizens from Trinidad and Tobago who don't have it, our country money, we depend in our pocket and giving them arms. So we have to come from thousands of miles away to help. And you have US citizens passing these people straight. Passing these people straight. Young mother with a little baby, right? He was shocked to see these things. As I was telling earlier, but because you all don't travel, this was their first venture outside of Trinidad and Tobago. I said, I'm glad you came to see for yourself what I was telling you all. And when I figure America so great and everything so honky-dory, come and see for yourself the things. We go in the airport, a man come, you know the trolleys, and look how we benefit. In Trinidad, you come back home and you go to pick up your luggage. You take a trolley, free of charge. You put your luggage on it, and you roll up to customs, right? And you go through, and then when you reach out by the door, they tell you, all right, they can't go no further from here. So you have to take your bags off, and you have all these guys asking you if you need a taxi. Not so in Miami airport, right? You have to pay $9 for a card because it's locked. So you stick your credit card in the machine, you pay your $9, and the card's unlocked, and you pull it out. And you put your luggage and you handle your stories. You have people inside the airport. When it is people finish with the card, they ain't bothering to go and push it to lock it back in. So they will just push it on the side, lean it up against a post, lean it up against a wall or something, and then airport workers will come and amass the trolleys and take it back. You have people in the airport stand up and they waiting, and as soon as they come ask you, finish with your trolley, yes, and they take it and they put 2 or 3, and come in and telling you, well, you know, it's $9 for they're looking for people with plenty luggage. Who they see and head into the cars, and they telling you, hey, what nice, $9 in the machine, but I'll give you for $5. I have this one here, $5. And you have people taking it, they pull out their wallet, hey, look here, $5, and they take the cart and they put the luggage, and they go up in the elevator, if it is that you have to take the SkyTrain to go to the rental car center or whatever. That is what you have people doing in the airport. Here, we take for granted that it's free. You just pull it and put your luggage. But over there, $9 you have to pay. And you have people hustling, eagle eye, just waiting. They come in and, yeah, I'm going to help you now. They take the trolley when you finish with it and looking to offer it to other people for $5 and $4 so they can make a buck to put food on the table. But only all here who never travel, always bad talk in this country. Inflation is I see over there too. People complaining about the price of stuff in the grocery. Plenty people, right? We went on 3 occasions, we tried to go to Red Lobster. No success. Reaching there, when we came back from New York, we decided we're going to try. 10 to 9 in the night, going into Red Lobster on University Drive. Telling us, well, you know, we'd have a 45-minute wait. They short staff. We say, 45-minute wait, what time are they closing? 10 o'clock. We say, well, that ain't making sense because it's 9 o'clock now. If you wait 45 minutes, 9:45, your kitchen closing at 10 o'clock. And we're not even sure if it's 45 minutes because it have people ahead of us. We had to leave. Next time we try to get in, pull up by Red Lobster, long line outside, Mother's Day. Everybody want to take the mother to Red Lobster for Mother's Day. And guess what? Short staff. So they can't accommodate you. They stand up outside and wait until whoever inside finish and then you come in. Everywhere you go, you're seeing that. Signs, hiring. They can't find workers. Cannot find workers. Walmart laying off people, closing branches. Google laying off people. Tesla laying off people. All these things taking place there. But kill these people dead. Trinidad and Tobago is the worst place to live. The worst place. We have the worst government that don't know how to manage the economy, and the economy is so horrible and whatnot. That's another thing I wanted to talk about, but in the interest of time, I will save that for Tuesday. An article that I saw came out saying that Trinidad and Tobago has the worst performing economy in the region, and you have citizens of this country happy to see articles like that. Happy to see articles like that because they figure it puts the government in a negative light and it would give their party of choice a fillip in the upcoming election. But we will deal with that. We will deal with that. I'm happy that they made mention. I don't know where these folks got these statistics to write this article. Because I saw they mention a few Caribbean countries that they say expecting certain amount of growth through tourism and so on in the next year or two. And one of the countries they made mention of is Dominica. So on Tuesday, I will tell you of my experience in Dominica and why it is I do not support some of what that article says. Right? But anyway, in the interest of time, it's already 1:15. 22, let me hear me 22, 770 1763. Let me see if this no, we're doing. Hold one second. That's some correct. Right, let's see. Hello, good afternoon.
Good evening, Dominic.
Hi.
Let me pray for my country. Thank you, Father God, for Trinity Bico. For the nation you have blessed us to live in, Father. God, I call for angelic hosts on assignment to do a mighty warfare in this land, Father. God, I bless Private Road, the cabinet, and everyone that serves them, Father. God, I bless Dominic, Father God, for the human service he does, for teaching us what the government is doing, Father. Bless him, oh Lord God. Keep him safe, Father. I pray for healing for Dom from the crown of his head, Father God, to the sole of his feet. I pray for Sister Jenny and for Brian and God, all who come and listen to this program, God, and who decide for us, and God, who take hold and who spread the news, Father. I speak there over Laventille, and be lost, and be Tom, and each person, Father. I said, God, no more guns but the Bible, Father. God, you are the way, the truth, and the life, Father. I pray, God, increase them. I call for the oil, those young men. I call for the diamonds. I call for the gems that you have called them to be, Father. I call for the masons, the plumbers, the carpenters. God, I call for the cooks, the chefs, the writers, the playwrights, God, the singers, the pianists, God, those who will write music, God, godly music, Father. God, I bless them. And every negative word spoken over PNM and African people who are cancelled now. I cancel every evil word spoken over my people in the name of Jesus Christ. God, I bless them. Like Abraham, if you can count the stars and you can weigh the waters and you can count the sands of the sea, so shall your blessings be. God, I agree with God in my prayer. I declare in Leviticus 7:20 says, you shall have a due season, and you will lie and sleep in safety. You will drive evil from among this land, Father. God, you said to call those things into being as though they are, and God, I call for your word this land. God, you said you have great plans for this land. Great plans. Psalm 23 and Psalm 91 is talking to PNM and plans for this land, and for Dominic, and for Sister Jen, and for Brian, and God, he told Sarah and all the people on this, and Donna, God, and all the people I'm seeing on the line, Father. God, I bless them. I speak over them. God, I speak, I help me for Dominic, Father God, who will be a blessing, God, to you. And God, take your way, Father God, to be politics, God, amen. You have great plans for them, Father, that only you know, God. And I pray, God, he will hear your voice. Like Samuel, God, who heard your voice. When Eli's eyes went out, Samuel heard your voice. And I'm going to pray for every person on the USC Canal page. And this person will hear your voice and know without a doubt the shout of a king in this land. A shout of a king. And God, you will turn this hand, this land, by your hand, Father, for greatness. God, there's hidden oil in this land. But Lord, this oil will flow when the people's heart return to you, Father. I give you something in your name. Amen. Now, Dominic, you know something? if Anil loved this land, if Kingsley loves this land, you bless her. It's about sheep. A patriot, a person civic minded, will want the best for this land. Whether from Africa or India. What bothers them is a black man with a master's name met an Indian, once a royalty, quote unquote. It bothers them because in there, for the prime minister and in this land, what they can build on it. And a person who's a regional thinker will always push the leader, St. Vincent, St. Lucia forward. A brick by just is a brick, but a brick needs cement, sand, and water. And to build a wall, you have masons, plumbers, masons, laborers, and carpenters. Laborers, they get well. And masons draw the line. And if I'm saying, well, he's perfect, no. But he's civic minded. He cares about not only us, but about other islands too. He's a patriot of the Caribbean. Kamla and Anil and the rest is about the color yellow. It's not about building this nation or others. It's building the European nation. There were nations within this nation. The flag is the other prime minister is Kamla. And history will be kind to her. She is a dictator. She is a judge of the UNC. If you come into your words as a leader, open your seat for election. Let's look at your seat as leader. When Prime Minister Rowley had his stake for leadership, it opened up, you know why? Because he knew his word. And if he was replaced, he will still serve the country first, and he will serve the party. UNC is about UNC. Dummy Becca, darling, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. See, there's an entity who goes by the name of Mark on YouTube. Saying here, well, he's talking about nonsense. A whole set of rubbish. Right? Let me see. Talking about sufferers. Mark, I want you to go on Standards Facebook page. Standards Distributors. Go on their Facebook page for me, please. I want you to see the video that they posted for the sale in their warehouse. Annual sale that they had for the last 2 days, Mark. I want you to see all the sufferers lined up outside of Standards warehouse, Mark. The sufferers who can't afford to put food on the table and can't afford to go to the grocery, can't afford to buy fuel because the price too high. But they line up outside Standards, Mark. The sufferers to go inside Standards because apparently the sale is free. You just walk in and take what you want and walk out. And Mark, and that's how it does work. I'm talking about trying to buy out Africans. You see, it's people like you. I don't know. I don't like to go down the race road. But if it is that you are a person of African descent, Mark, let me just tell you something. I would class you right up there as one of those lick bottom Africans. That's what you're good for. That is what you all are good for. Nothing good for persons of African descent. You wouldn't come and tell the people, hey, the government have this way. Talking stupidness here about all the East Indians never get any grants from the government. So what is that the former Caroni workers, what are they crying for? What did they get? When it is that the party that you support lied to them, when it is the EU grant was given to the Manning administration, and Mr. Manning told them the money is not to give you all in your hand. It is for us to invest in programs to help you to make the transition from agriculture to any new endeavors. And the UNC, Kamla Pasabi says, and them come and say, no, they lie. That money is to give all you in check. And when they came into office, Basan Bharat, as the Minister of Food Production, telling people, well, no, we can't give all no cash. Really and truly is what the Manning administration was saying, that the money has to be invested by the state in programs to help all to make the transition. It's not to give all the money to buy stove and fridge and all of that. All this deception, when it is they were deceiving the East Indians, you wasn't talking that stupidness, Mark. But you want to come here to talk about the PNM trying to buy out Africans. But this is the idiocy of people like you all, which is why the African community cannot progress. Because the government is creating opportunities. But you know what all you like? When Kamala put Kamala back and she's saying we bringing back Color Me Orange, or we bringing back baby grant, $500 a month to make child, to buy Pampers and milk to make children all that. Carmine, people like you, Mark, will support that stupidness and tell the Africans go and line up for that. This is what people like you so know damn good. But Africans supposed to listen to all you. Tell me about the former colony workers still waiting. Well, they were waiting between 2010 to 2015 too. That's the party they supported. That's who they voted for. Why didn't give it to them? Tell us that. Why it is Kamala didn't give it to them? And she make promises to them. So miss us with this BS. But the African community, the government is saying we want to create entrepreneurs. We ain't coming to give you no handout. Right? Imagine Anna's voting when they went off, they got 48,000 food. 48,000 food cards he want to boast about, right? Look at it. $500 a month on a food card. So for 1 year, you get $6,000 on your food card. Keith Rowley is giving you a grant, one shot, $20,000. So it's taking about 3.5 years of food cards to add up, a $500 food card to add up to this grant. But people, Mark, want to come and tell the supporters of the PNM to tell us about put back Kamala so you could get a $500 grant card and you could get $500 a month to buy Pampers and milk for your child, $1,000 a month. That better than you're getting $20,000 and the technical support to be able to start your own business, to create a legacy so that your children could live nice too. So you don't have to depend on Kamala for no laptop because your parents making the money to be able to buy you the best laptop. You don't have to settle for no cut rate. You could get a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro, but he ain't talking about that. No, put back Kamala so you could get $69 a day so she could carry you in the Hilton Hotel and treat you like school children, hands up, out, down. That is what people like them like. Them, so that's what they like. Ask him. The 3 increases that Keith Rowley give you in your personal allowance, such that thousands of public servants no longer paying income tax. You is one of them, Mark? How much you saving? The $7,500 that you're probably saving for the year in income tax that under Kamala was given to the BIR. Where are you doing with it? Where are you doing with it? But nonsense about the PNM must go for sanity. You even know the definition of sanity? Because right now, you, Mark, sounding like a real madman. You need to just pack a bag, call the nearest taxi and tell them drop you off in front St. Anne's and say you come to check yourself in. Because right now, you sounding like that's where you're supposed to be. Jenny.
You hear me?
Yeah, Jen.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon to you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to all those in Uptown and Chile. I just want to ask Anselm Laborde, because you like to be all up in Trinidad and Tobago business. Now, I already have a problem with that in the sense that he was born here. But you live here since you're 18, and you say you're living out in New Jersey 40-something years. So it means to say you haven't been paying no taxes, anything here. And you can't tell us about how people suffering and hungry here. While not admitting that in Maya up in New Jersey, people are lining up almost every day to get food. Long lines go around the corner, all in South Orange.
Food bank, yeah.
All in the food banks. He's refusing to admit that some of the poorest towns is in New Jersey, where the poverty level is 38-point-something%. He refused to admit that before in New Jersey, to get the federal grants, something like food grant and all that, you have to be working for less than $20,000 a year. But the government has raised it now to about over $40,000. So it means to say there's a new additional set of people who have to depend on these grants. And because of that, it is overburdening the system. So you're seeing a lot more people on the poverty line right in New Jersey. And I want to call him out on the statistics that he gave what it is on radio. Because the Central Statistical Office in Trinidad and Tobago does not do any statistics on any issue by race. This is African people this or Indian people this. They do the statistical research and it is people. So he's lying there. When he say he have research, reliable research that says African people how much on the poverty line and all that. He ain't get that from the reliable source of information, which is Statistical Office at Trinidad and Tobago. I want to. I don't know if he gets a professorship because of affirmative action in America, but he's at Seton Hall University. And I was looking to see what students say about him because they're graded. They say his class is a waste of time. He just reads from slides. They say he can't understand what he's saying. They say they could find a better professor to take that class. They say that he does hold grudge against students who question anything he says. They say he's not a smart guy. He's not a good professor. They say that he exam pretty simple. They say that he boring. They say group project isn't great. They say he irritating. He does humiliate the student in front of the class if you make a mistake. His guidelines are very unclear. So when I see these things that students saying about somebody who's supposed to be a professor, I could understand why they could spout all kind of information and statistics that may not be reliable at all. So I call them out today again. Show your credentials that you is a professor, because your students who you clearly teach find that you're not smart. And that's something we realized a long time in this country. Let's listen to it. They realize they're irritating. That's something we realized in this country a long time. They say you're annoying. We have realized that long time. And even your students up in Seton University, which part you're teaching and supposed to be a professor, they're saying the same thing about you. So I move on from you. I see Roger Hossain, Professor Roger Hossain, who is saying that our economy, I put it my way, in a bad state, and it was on Ghana. I want to ask you to where he gets his statistics from, because just this year, IMF was down here, and they would have said in the first time in a decade that our economy is taking momentum and we're moving up. Just last year, Standard & Poor's and Moody, also the top rating agencies in the world, would have said we're in a good place. Our credit rating is good. So I don't know if Professor Hossain would have gotten that statistics. Is he from the school of thought of Wall Street? I'm just asking. And to end again, I will get tired telling people about the issue with the Auditor General and the Minister of Finance. Because at the end of the day, when Sharon Otley, under the UNC, PP government, 2010 to 15, when she did her audit report, because she was the Auditor General back then, she said that the millions and millions of dollars spent under the PP government in different ministries, they have no documentation, no receipt to show how they spend the money and why it was spent. But she still do she report, though. I never hear nobody come out and say where the money gone, where the money missing, who thieved the money. But under this Auditor General, the government is saying, or Minister of Finance is saying, hey, look, this is money we made. Why you not putting it in your report? And you refusing to put it? And people talk about that as thief money. Let me tell you something. All who thinking so, all they have no good intention for this country, and all they just want people like Kamala Persaud-Vissasan and to come back in office. And not only just eat a food, but get crumbs. Because all they say Kamala gave all when she was there 2010 to 15. I find all they done broken too quick. Because by 2016, all they broken. So what all they really get, if she so give all you, why all they have? Because clearly, Karmat and them not complaining. And clearly, the one who was given the contract to build the water plant in Beetham that he never finished, them ain't complaining. So I don't know what money Kamala give all it, that all they could afford to say Kamala give you something, because I find all it broken too quick. So again, I would say, all who have the ilk of Wall Street, who you say is a professor that still has to show you papers, and I will tell Seton University, if it's affirmative action, why he get the work? Well, Papa, only you yourself at this service, because none of these students have nothing good to say about it. And he can't call and be telling about sufferation. He will right where he living, we invest all the time and years and pay all the taxes. It has sufferation and hunger going on right now in New Jersey. So Wall Street rocked so, and Cinema rocked so. And you see all them was in Kamala crying talk. The lady who said she does teach maths for free, I applaud her. She said she's a corporate communication officer. But Miss Lady, if you are saying that they will go and rob to buy books because it's expensive, I had to watch you with a poor eye. Because like you was promoting yourself to get out. Because I never hear the whole nobody who went and thief and say I went to thief to buy school books. I never hear that in Trinidad. And yes, we have used school books given out if you didn't know. And to the next one, who promotes himself as this big journalist or radio talk show host, to talk about we have to catch them when they're 6 years old and 10 years old. What do you think the early childhood centers are for? They go to school from 6 years old to learn to socialize, to learn different habits, to learn how to behave, and then they go up to first year, second year, and all that. They're being caught right there. What about the parents to catch their own damn children? And then Kamala turn and ball, that's why we had 11 plus. Miss Lady rocks with your 7 toes, eh? What 11 plus you're talking about? It is alleged under Mr. Manning, when you was the Minister of Education, you take about 2 days with the essay results and you change it up. Not me say so. And then when all you finish, all you say, school for all. Whether you pass the essay, whether you ain't pass, you're going past school. That's how you catch them. So you live in primary school, where you used to go on, if you didn't do good in standard 1 or 2, they keep you on till they could do better, and then you're able to sit a common entrance when you're ready. All you pass everybody. So you go 11 plus 1. And on top of that, you close on all the trade school, all you on under UNC, all you close on John Darlinson, all you close on all the youth camps. So many people who couldn't really do it at academics in school could have gone to those areas and do a trade. So what foolishness they're talking, but again, it seems like people are performing. They're performing in front. The only thing them in this first trade, themselves and lie down on the ground unless she walk over the back with she 7 toes. Because other than that, I don't understand. And finally, to the woman who says she have children in universities and all that, Miss Lady, bless your heart and thank you. But who you think is the cause of afford your children to go to university is the People's National Movement with tertiary education and GATE. You have a blessed week, Dominic, and all those who are listening.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Dominic,
Oh, Lord. Yes, sir.
what's going on?
All is well.
Look here, boy.
Uh-huh.
I hear you went on your honeymoon and you didn't tell your partner nothing.
No, I didn't go on no honeymoon.
Hey, Dominic, I just teasing you. I hear you getting some praise this morning, boy. Take that praise,
I receive it.
but tell them leave out Dr. Rowley because you know he went like it too.
Oh, Lord, Father.
Hey, Dominic,
Yes, sir.
I called my sister this morning. You know, she's at PNM.
Uh-huh.
My sister vexed with me. She said, "What you calling me now for?" Yeah, this is Dominic program. Dominic, she don't miss your program, you know.
That is good. She know good stuff.
You rather get she a medal.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Dominic, let me play devil's advocate now.
Uh-huh.
I hear we're only talking about African emancipation.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That Jenny did the video.
You break up there, anyways.
We have from Ghana. The last he had in Trinidad. That's when Jenny did the video.
Uh-huh.
We had a king who visited Trinidad from Ghana.
Yes.
That's where he went right now.
The Asante Hene, yes.
Don't you think that was the rightest time and the appropriate time to make that announcement about African Emancipation Day, Dominic?
No.
Why?
Because you start at home to go abroad. You make the announcements home first.
No, really. You had a king visiting Trinidad
Uh-huh.
on Emancipation Day.
Right.
You don't think that was the rightest time to talk about African emancipation, Dominic?
Do you know why Dr. Rowley made that statement about African emancipation?
Yeah, but you tell me.
Because, as you know, Dr. Rowley is the head of the reparations committee for CARICOM. And I was reliably informed that there are persons in other Caribbean territories that are predominantly East Indian based who are seeking to tie the reparations, their claim for reparations based on indentureship, to this whole thing about emancipation. Right? And Dr. Rowley is of the view that emancipation and reparations is for persons of African descent. So nobody else should be trying to come and join on the reparations bandwagon to say, well, we came here as indentured laborers, so we entitled the reparations too. So we make it abundantly clear when we talk about emancipation, it is for Africans.
So my point is, what I'm telling you, you had the king who visited Trinidad from Ghana on his Emancipation Day.
Yes.
Don't you think that was the rightest time and the rightest place to make that announcement?
No, because the
emancipation,
the impetus that led to Dr. Rowley making that statement would have come to a head after emancipation last year. This is something that has reared its head within the last few months with persons, I wouldn't call the name of the country, but senior persons in that country are part of their government who are seeking to try to tack on indentureship to the reparations conversation. And that is why the government, that is why the cabinet took that decision to make it abundantly clear who reparations are for.
Point taken. Remember I was playing devil's advocate? Eh?
Yes.
I will leave it there.
Thank you, sir. That is big shot to my research. Prepared for anything. Right? I don't play that to them. So, I mean, well, I see Adarami X on YouTube called it. So if you want to know, right. And you are correct, Adarami X. That is very true. Very, very true. Right? And we're not having that. The fact of the matter is, the reparations conversation has always been focused on persons of African descent. For the fact that after slavery, right, the African community was not compensated for the years of slavery, while other persons were given lands and other opportunities. That same was not for the African community. So don't come and try to jump on that bandwagon now to say, all are we were emancipated and all of that. No. In the same way, the Africans can't lay claim to 1845 and the Fatal Razak. Mr. Swear, 1834 and 1838, they had nothing to do with it. With all due respect. Let me get this here. Let me see this thing. This here. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hi, Dominic.
Yeah, Jen.
You still on?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry for calling back again. I just forgot to mention, people have an issue with Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley in India. But when Colonel Prasad Bisesta went to India, she went to trace her family, her members of her family, and that is all we knew. And apparently what she found there, it wasn't impressive enough because she has never been back, not to my recollection. But I think the country would have spent about 12 million taxpayers' money for that trip.
Yes.
We have Dr. Rowley who has left a very small contingent. I'm very sure it wasn't first class and he didn't hire a whole plane. And what he's doing, he said he's the best salesman. When he goes out there, he's the best salesman and he sells Trinidad and Tobago. And every time he comes back from a foreign trip, he has a press conference, either right away at the airport or at the diplomatic center.
Right. And
you know exactly what he has done, what he has brought back, what he intends to bring back. And as you said, that family is one of the fourth richest in the world who own Mumbai Cricket and on all these companies, and then the companies involved in petrochemical and so many things. And if Dr. Rowley could get them to come here to invest and build the cricket academy in Trinidad, what is the ethnicity of people who multi part in cricket? It's mostly people of Indian descent, and we know that. So they're looking at something that could help to benefit them and they want to fight it down. But not only that, he can get money from Africa. Let me be real because that's all the thinking. It's from India looking for the money. Where they are there who went and looked for the family in India and trace the family in India. Now India trying to help this country that will help some of all become plenty all in the cricket. I bring it really low. All they want that to know. When that company come here to build that stadium there, the cricket academy, you think it's TNT taxpayers' money? Then the what TNT money? And that will generate employment for TNT nationals. Because when they finish it, people have to run it. You think Indian people coming on to run it? It's people from right here have to run that academy. Coaches from right here and across the Caribbean will be there to coach each other and that. But then looking at that, it's jealousy. Because when she went there, she bent down to kiss the foot of the president. She's the world leader in Trinidad, the prime minister. First female prime minister, you want India to bend down to kiss the president for the woman had to pull you back up and go on to look for your family, which is very noble of you. But when they came back, you keep a press conference to tell the country what we benefit from it. We never know nothing from when Kamala and them travel, what we benefit in this country. But you know, a government who is reporting to you, letting you know what is happening, only fighting on that. But somebody wicked by that's what I have to say. And a press conference will be held, I think, about 2:30 at the airport when Dr. Rod touched down. You all tune in and listen and see what we have coming forward first. Again, all who think like Kamala, them all you wicked all the generation and generation to come, boy. And we African people who supporting that. Anyway, Dominic, let me start this Sunday night. Say about this one.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. So, let me see what's happening here. Hold one sec, bro. I'm trying to. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what is going on here, but hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Brian.
Yes, pleasant good afternoon to you, Dominic. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
I missed you on Wednesday. I only saw it afterwards come up.
Right.
Dominic, you know what pains me, and I find sort of really, really weird that people need to go and vote for that party, regardless of whatever that party does or says. Whether they have 5 dissident members or whatever it is, people don't care about that. They may collapse. Them going good. When I recall when Patrick Manning began to build the Brian Lara Stadium and Academy, he didn't finish it. And when the partnership got into office, they left it to rot. You understand? And I spoke about this before. This is the Prince of Water Spinner. This is the man who has 2 world records in cricket. But one I believe might never be broken in my lifetime. That is the 501. You understand? And when Brian was opening that academy, but when the government decided no Brian, because Brian wanted to remove his name and disassociate himself from it because it looked so bad. That is certain. And he said, you see me, I want to disassociate myself. And Dr. Rowley said, no, Brian, we will fix this. And he fixed it for less money than the UNC in the end was attempting to use to fix it just before the election. And even after that was done, I had to listen to a little imps come almost every time they had parliament in the lower house to ask questions about that Brian Lara Academy. If it's safe, if it's any good, does it meet international standards? Every single time they had parliamentary session, he would come, he and the next one would ask a set of questions and took this stadium. When Brian Lara had invited his friends for the opening match at that stadium, they wrote Sachin Tendulkar and told him, you come here and your life would be at risk. They didn't write Courtly and Roger. They wrote Sachin Tendulkar. I tell him, hey, don't come here, boy. That is what they did to Brian Lara, Brian Charles Lara. You understand? And Sachin decided he wasn't going to come. That is what these people do. You understand? And even for that night of the opening, when we were coming down the highway, the amount of people was there attempting to tell you, don't go in there, it's unsafe. Don't go in there, don't go and watch no game. But you know them bitches and them want to buy tickets to sit the flat backsides in them 18,000 seats to watch World Cup come in. They're going to buy tickets. They're slung in the same stadium to buy tickets. Only if they go stuff the toilet with orange peel and jersey again. They embarrass Trinidad and Tobago. Now we hear that this gentleman that the Honorable Prime Minister was invited to meet in India. They have already sent their engineers here to look at the ground and so on. Right? He is going to meet with one of the richest men in the world who could bring money to Trinidad and Tobago and open up the refinery, maybe or maybe not, could invite him to buy it or lease it as the case might be. Because every Monday morning, the outlying areas suffering, everybody's suffering in Maradela, everybody's suffering in Gasparilla, everybody's suffering in South because this wicked government closed down the refinery. Close it down. But they're studying the $12 billion that we have to pay back. They're not studying that. They're studying that patriotic energies couldn't buy it. But a man has this, perhaps may decide that he may want to make a major investment and revamp the refinery to world-class standards. I told you about this, a modern refinery in England only had a lot bigger than ours, but only had 800 employees. I was a top-tier refinery. So if he wanted to come here, why it is they must want to perhaps write him or protest to stop him from making an investment so the people in Marabella, Gasparilla, San Fernando could get a little walk. These same people would have said this wicked government they care about earlier. Why? You know why? Because it's a PNM Prime Minister, a PNM leader who is looking at Trinidad and Tobago and not studying, have no hate in his heart, pure unadulterated hate. Why? It is a crime shame that these people would want. When I go to one of those games down in Brian Lara, I want to see who from Parliament will be saying down there. I want to see who either will buy tickets to come to watch cricket match at the Brian Lara Academy. I want to see. It's a crime shame. Dominic, I heard that Roger Hussein, Professor Hussein said that the worst economy is our economy in Trinidad. I am wondering whether or not documents from the IMF and Moody's and Standard and Poor's and so on. What does they say? Where Roger Hussein and another guy named Gokul, get their information from? Where they get their information from? Even what's his name, Mariano Brown, on Friday, saying that things are so bad in Trinidad and Tobago. I said, but where are these people getting their information from? Where are they getting this information from? You understand? And they can't give you the evidence. It's just because they know that their words will come out in the news, they come out and they say that. People listen to them and believe them. Imagine that. It's a crying shame. But you see, again, we need somebody, not only you, Dominic, but other people who are on the board of all of the PNM to counteract all of these things and debunk all of this information as soon as possible so the people in Trinidad and Tobago would see it and understand that a lot is being done and a lot of people are making investments in Trinidad and Tobago. And then they would understand that, hey, things are not as bad as only think it is. Because, see, elections coming, Dominic, and the propagandas are going to begin to come free sheet. And we will have to react and counteract and explain exactly why it is a bunch of lies being given out all over the place. But it is what it is. Dominic, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, as I said, I intend to address that article on Tuesday. It was my intent to treat with it today, but in the interest of time, I will leave it for Tuesday. Hello, good afternoon. You're sounding low, caller. You're sounding a little low. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Romain, good afternoon to you.
Yes, sir. Greetings.
All right, good afternoon to the listeners, the callers on this Sunday mid-morning to afternoon. Facts and stubborn things. No, Dominic, I want to take, according to Sister Jenny, I want to take on false teeth. Right? With all this stats, you want to deem that people in Trinidad and Tobago living under the poverty line, under the RPNM led by Dr. Rowley. So I want to ask false teeth. What the R mean? Because he would have called the program last week with that same RPNM foolishness. So I want to ask him what the R means. False teeth, right? Now, Dominic, you want to talk about stats, right? I have some stats here for him. False teeth, right? What is the poverty rate in New Jersey from 2000 to 2022? False teeth. You want to tell you? The year 2000, the poverty rate in New Jersey was 7.9%. 2001, 7.9%. 2002, 7.5%. 2003, 8.4%. 2004, 8.5%. 2005, 8.7%. 2006, 8.7%. 2007, 8.6%. 2008, 8.7%. 2009, 9.4%. 2010, 10.3%. 2011, 10.4%. 2012, that's all right. 2012, 10.8%. 2013, 11.4%. 2014, 11.1%. 2015, 10.8%. 2016, 10.4%. 2017, 10%. 2018, 10%. 2019, 9.5%. 2020, 9.7%. 2021, 10.2%. And 2022, 9.7%. So false state, when you bring in your facts, right? Bring your facts to back up your stupidness you'll be talking. You know what I'm telling you? Because you want to deal with Trinidad so bad. Trinidad poverty rating right now is not what New Jersey, the state you're living in, as you speak, what I would have called just now. Right? The only problem we have in Trinidad is we are too lackadaisical. One, we are free-spirited. Two, and we have to stop this dependency syndrome. You understand? Until we get through our thick skull, we will continue to be spinning top in mud. You understand? That is why Dr. Rowley, Dominic, would have come out, right, and have all these initiatives, right, to get out of that lifestyle people want to live in and continuously living in. You understand? What for state? How about the poverty and diversity in New Jersey? Right? This is a survey in America. Right? 16.1% of the population in New Jersey, right? Poverty status out of 45.9 thousand to 284,000 people live below the poverty line, was higher than the 12.6% average for state. Right? You want to go again? F1 state. Percent of New Jersey's children were living below the poverty line in New Jersey. In some states like Atlantic, Essex, Hudson Ocean, Passaic, and Salem. Airport state, you know what that place is? Right? When you want to come and talk and make sense. Right? The poorest area in New Jersey, Falls State, is southern New Jersey, Falls State, with an estimated of go and look it up on the net. Because if you deal yourself as a professor or so-called professor, you should have these things done back. Right? But you don't mind Trinidad Tobago business, but yet still, you're in New Jersey business. I don't understand. Fix your place outside there. Because you was hoping that, as you represent Dominic, that you invite Dr. Roddy in your place, hoping you like get exchange with the business in Lavantel. Wall Street up to Banca, you have to back up the buildings. If you were so interested, you would have made your duty and come down here every year and go up in Lavantel and try to talk with the people up there. You're not doing that. You have come on your higher platform, your TikTok, your WFM or whatever stupid radio station you have, right, to demoralize the government and Dr. Rowley because you have a grievance with Dr. Rowley. You understand? Right, for instance? So when you're making your frivolous and your misinformation and misinterpretation when it comes to facts about the poverty and the state of Trinidad and Tobago, watch New Jersey when you're living in the last 60 plus years, right? And you will be able to decipher who is better off. So all the glitz and glamour, you want to portray that America is so great and so nice. Why all these stats is what it is here? Right, for shit, so food for thought. When you're talking, bring facts to back it up. And as for leave it there. You know who's like it and who's like it. I hope, anyway, I will leave that right here. Dominic, good program. Doctor listening, and you continue doing it, my brother. Have a blessed week, all the bunkers.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chance, call me back. see here. Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Dominic, how are you?
I am good, man.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Dominic.
Mhm.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Dominic, so, I kind of understand the mindset of people in Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this project is usually bringing the building here to help develop the cricket academy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the situation what took place with Mr. Malin had the idea with the mega farms,
Yes.
the aluminum smelter plant, and the rapid rail, and the development of Port of Spade. Remember those projects?
Yep. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I try to find out that we shoot ourselves in the foot.
Pretty much.
Because just like how they run away Sandals and Tobago, they want to run away the billionaire from India who had the idea of building the so-called cricket academy.
Mm.
So what next they want? They want blood now?
Apparently.
I try to understand the mindset, and they want to bring back Tanti Yellows back to be as prime minister. Is better that Russian power be the head of the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, he was a political. You know, right?
Yeah, well.
I try to understand the mathematics of that. He was selected to be the candidate for mayor since 2015. And now you're declaring that he's a PNM political puppet. So you mean for almost the last 10 years, or you didn't realize that he was a PNM puppet? The master must send out to know. And another go those people in this country gravitating towards that conspiracy theory. Don't you tell me what is the logic in that? I'm trying to understand the logic in that. You have a good day, Dominic.
UNC logic. Thank you. UNC logic caller. Mr. Chance.
Dominic,
Yes, sir.
I'm breaking up, or are you hearing me clearly, or am I breaking up?
I am hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, let me welcome you back, and I trust, I know whenever you make your little trips, you enjoy it, and it's nice to hear your voice again.
Thank
Very
you.
refreshing, dealing with so many issues. But this afternoon, I just want to focus on Dr. Rose. All right, I thought that you spent quite some time, and I too want to join you in that and underscore certain things. But before I do so, I just want to make one quick point with respect to that issue about the Brian Lara Academy and the Queen's Park Oval.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I listened well, Brian. Good contribution on yourself. But I want to tell you all something that you must always see and remember this. That this business of the ITC is business. It's not only for developing people and so on. It's a big business. Sport business. And the most critical thing in all of that is that the Queen's Park Oval is a private facility. All the revenue earned there goes to the owners of the Queen's Park Cricket Club. Are you getting, Dominic?
Yes.
All the revenue, they have to pay rentals, they have to pay commercials, they have to pay commissions, they have to pay television rights. All of that will go to Queen's Park Cricket Club, which is a privately owned company, privately owned sport club. On the other hand, the Brian Lara facility is publicly owned. It's owned by you. The rail facilities, the commissions, all the money made there goes back to you, and it is placed in the consolidated fund for you. So where you want the focus to be? You want the focus to increase that rate, huh? You getting anything out of that? Huh? That's all I'll say for now on that. Because it was a shame and a disgrace for those of us who have spent years of our lives operating at the head of sport in this country. So here's somebody who was born and bred here, trying to give the impression that we should play the game at the Queen's Park Oval. And our public not understanding there's a difference between a privately owned and a publicly owned facility. Every time you have an event in the Crawford Stadium, who you think getting the money is you. Whenever they have it in the Queen's Park Oval, who you think are getting the money is the people who own the Queen's Park Oval is private. And this is about business. So I hope I make that point clear. The second point I want to make very clear is that there is this habit about calling Dr. Rowley a dictator. You hear it all the time, Dominic? Well, on the 3rd of May, 2 weeks ago gone there, was World Press Freedom Day. On that day, Reporters Without Borders ranked the countries of the world in terms of press freedom. 2 weeks ago, I tell you, 2 weeks ago, on the 3rd of May, we had Trinidad and Tobago ranked number 25. So Trinidad and Tobago is in the top 25 of the countries of the world where press freedom is at its best. Top 25. How could Dr. Rowley be a dictator? Huh? Go. We're in the top 25 where people are free to speak. And you know what the comment was from borders? They say Trinidad and Tobago is always progressive in that respect. And let me give you some context, is it? People always talk about context. You know that we were ranked in 2015 at the end of the UNC, number 36. So you see, we gained 11 places on the Dr. Rowley in the right direction. So next time they come and tell you telling you about Dr. Rowley as a dictator, remind them where's our ranking in the top 25. But let me go to the other point. The other one is, when you talk about Petrochin, I want to read this for the people of Trinidad and Tobago and those people listening to your podcast. July the 17th, 2019. I'm reading a statement from Moody's. Moody's is the premier credit rating agency in the world. Premier means number one. Many regard him as number one. Hear what Moody's says. Moody's praises Petrochin closure. It is one of the government's best and most effective policy-making procedures. The International Credit Rating Agency indicated, and I'm going to speak slowly now, this is not Ralph Farage. This is not Mariano Brown. This is Moody's, who rate governments all over the world. Moody's International Credit Rating indicated, had the government not restructured Petrochin, it could have devolved into a potentially dangerous and hazardous fiscal situation for the country. You hear the word? Dangerous and hazardous fiscal, meaning we will not be able to feed our people to pay our bills. And we would have said that's what I straight in the IMF. I didn't say that. I'm quoting from Moody's. Fact check it now, you. That's what Moody's said. That if the government had not restructured Petrochin, it could have devolved into a potentially hazardous and dangerous fiscal situation. Meaning we will not have enough money to run the country. So who is what Dr. Rowley listen to? All right, let me go very quickly now to Dr. Rowley and the question of the visit to Ghana. Here is part of the visit to Ghana. Now, Pakeed Rowley met with the president of Ghana, where they discussed the commitment with respect to the finalization of the gas deal. You hear that? You hear that word gas? Well, let me remind the people who listen to your program, that is how we live. That is how we pay the health bills. That is how we send the children to school. That's how the daily pay get work. That is how the teachers get paid. Most of the people in this country depend on the sale of gas and petrochemicals to live. Quite recently, about a week ago, the Minister of Energy had to tell us that that is how we live. So when you hear Dr. Rowley making arrangements to finalize the gas, you should smile, because that is going to put food on your table. Right? That's the key thing for me. I know he made arrangements with respect to travel between Ghana and so on. But the most critical thing for me as a citizen is to keep this economy alive by signing an imminent deal with gas, because that is how we live. And secondly, I want to go to the area of sport, where he's talking to the Reliance company. And I agree with what both you said, and I think Brian and Jenny. But let me add this to it. This company, Reliance Company, is the largest private sector company in that part of the world. But let me tell you, they're involved in business, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why they're setting up that? Do you know why they're setting up King's Academy? They are wooing in North America. They're wooing America, United States. Do you know that it's the United States and the West Indies that is hosting this World Cup? Trinidad and Tobago will become the site for the development of cricket in this part of the world. It will be a World Cricket Academy. North America, United States and Canada and all those places, if they want to develop their game, where they will come. Where they're going to come and do it? In the World Cricket Academy, run by Reliance Company, one of the largest private sector companies in that part of the world, and the leading company in terms of the development of world cricket. Where are they going to come? Where jobs are going to be created? Where foreign exchange will be created? Where employment will be created? And I want to close off by telling you, that didn't have my VAT. That those things have my VAT. It is Dr. Rowley who hosted the CPL, which is the Caribbean Premier League from 2017, right here in Brian Lara. 2018, Brian Lara. 2019 and 2020, all of them. And you know, every year they're generating over $56 million into the economy. It is business people. And I want to continue to congratulate Dr. Rowley for promoting Trinidad and Tobago for investment, so that the people of Trinidad and Tobago will benefit from the work. I look forward to his press conference this evening at 2:30, when we get much more details of what it is. So I want to continue to highlight Dr. Rowley's leadership, because in 2025, when gas production, it is going to be at its highest. Between 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, and 2030, gas production in Trinidad and Tobago will be at its highest. You know what that means? It means that the revenue in Trinidad and Tobago will also be at its highest. Who will put to run that country? Who you will put after Dr. Rowley and Minister of Energy does all the work to get that gas production to that level over the next 4 years? Who you will put? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chance. Folks, it's 2:15, so we've gone past the 2 o'clock hour. So let me thank you all for joining me today. As I said, so many issues to touch on that as a result of my time away, I wasn't able to touch, but we will try to do so in the coming days. So on Tuesday, I really want to touch on that article, which claims Trinidad and Tobago is the worst performing economy. We will look at the metrics that they look at, and based on my personal experience of my recent trip to Dominica, why I don't agree with some of what is said there, and perhaps to make some suggestions based on what the article says. Right, so I look forward to Dr. Rowley's press conference, which is due to begin in about 15 minutes time. So we know there are those who are going to be looking at it just to make nasty comments and negative comments. But for those of us who are interested, in the Prime Minister's trip and what is to come from it, we will be listening with a discerning ear, right? Because we need to counter the foolishness that is out there by those who I consider to be fully dunce. And to Mark, who I see appears to still be creating Kuchuru, he says, "Chance stop crying, Trinidad economy is the worst in the entire region." Ah, boy. Cognitive, he should be the poster boy for cognitive dissonance. No matter what you tell people like Mark, can't change their mind. Whatever is the reason for their hatred for Dr. Rowley and the PNM, they will continue to operate like that, right? So they don't even make any sense to attempt. Just ask him to tell us what benefits we got compared to the things that are being offered now by this administration to uplift those who are in the doldrums. 600 homes to be constructed for persons who are living in dire straits, who are living on the poverty line, persons who are living in shacks and so on without houses. The government is spending up to about $175,000 to build homes, individual homes for these persons in the first place, starter homes, so that they can have a better roof over their head, indoor plumbing. So instead of having to run outside in the bush in the night, when you need to use toilet facilities, you could do so for the first time inside. And as a starter home, you could save your money, take advantage of one of the many opportunities that the government has provided for you to become a business owner, make some money and expand the home. But they ain't seeing that. They're not seeing that at all. Right? Mark wouldn't encourage people and talk about them thing when he's talking about Pobak Kamla and Pobak Kamla. And what Kamla offering you. The only thing sure, well, you know what? I feel Mark wants to get a firearm user's license. He wants a gun. That's what he wants. So Pobak Kamla, forget everything else. Forget ministers being fired for forcing people to perform oral sex on them so you could get a house. Forget ministers being fired for driving drunk. Forget ministers being fired for sitting on the panel that was reviewing tenders for certain government projects, and your child is one of the bidders. Forget all them things. Forget what ministers were fired for, all of the different issues. No. Mark probably looking to get a firearm user license because he wants a gun to play with, and that's why you work able to come back. So no problem, Mark. If that is your motivation, you go right ahead. Folks, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week. Make it a productive one. And God's willing, we will chat again on Tuesday morning at 6:30. So that's it for me today. I'm good.